Hello, you're listening to the Eric McKenna Project.
Still be here, thankful to still have
kicking ass,
an endless supply of bullshit. It pours out of my face.
Let's do it, man.
I'm with you. I brought some keys. I brought a guitar.
I mean, you got keyboards here. It's Christmas season. You're doing like these long form. I do long form conversation. You do long form performance now. Streaming performance on Fridays. Bi-monthly, right? Every other week.
Yeah, every other week, and we've done 18 shows, and
right.
We have one coming up next Friday, and then on January 1st, which is 2 weeks from the next one, I have my friend and wonderful compadre. What a great word that is, compadre, right? My friend Harry Bottoms. And he'll be the first guest we've ever had on my Alone shows.
Harry Bottoms, is that a stage name?
Yeah.
For low end, for bass? Is that the correlation? See, I figured that out.
Yeah. But most people never ask the question. They just assume his name's Harry Bottoms. But that isn't his real name. And I gave him that name back in the early 90s because he got married and moved away for a while.
Right.
And while he was away, he married this girl. And they got a dog.
A dog.
That's how you say it. That's how you say it in Jersey. They got a dog. And now this dog was named Harry Bottoms. And when he came back to work with me after the marriage split up and all that bullshit, and he would always talk about Harry. He'd say, I'd get up in the morning and Harry and I would go for a walk. And Harry Bottoms is a strange cat.
The dog's name was Harry Bottoms.
Yeah. And he just kept talking about this goddamn dog named Harry Bottoms. And finally, I just started calling him Harry Bottoms because I couldn't take it anymore. And then I started introducing him as Harry Bottoms on stage. And that was that.
That's great.
And we never looked back. And now he's Harry.
I was hoping that you had a reason you called him Harry Bottoms, like when you created that name. But you're saying you stole it off a fucking dog.
Yeah, no question. But the fact that he plays bass,
right? It just works.
It was just all in my mind. It all made sense.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, we were playing in Columbus, Ohio, and these chicks in the audience were digging him. And I introduced him, and I says, Harry Bottoms on the bass, and this chick from the audience yells out, she goes, "Harry got the boom boom, Harry got the boom boom."
Harry got the boom boom,
and I loved it. And so
oh shit,
I loved the sound of that. And the next day home, me and Harry and our roadie Higgy were driving home, and we were talking about the boom boom, And so I wrote a song called "The Boom Boom." It's a song about a chick. She got the boom boom when she walks in a room. She got the boom boom, spells impending doom. She got the boom boom, danger looms. Baby got the boom boom. And it's a killer tune. I never played it live, but I recite the lyrics sometimes on my Alone shows. But that boom boom thing, it's something about it. Boom boom. You can see it. Makes pictures in your mind, and
you don't say.
Right? I mean, she got and in the song, the last verse of the song, I can't remember the words right now because I'm working on so much material. But on the last verse of the song, what happens is the guy that's singing the song talking about this girl. He says, I saw her mother walking. I saw her mother walking just the other day, and now I know the reason. Baby moves that way. She got the boom boom. She got it from her mother. And that's the trick of the song. How you doing? I'll come over there, you sons of bitches. Where's my goddamn teeth? I'm telling them mother.
That's where 30 years from now, that's where you're going to be, man. Putting your dentures in.
I'll leave him in my pocket. I'm just telling the bitch. I'll give you a goddamn smack.
All right, so talk about this COVID. Last time you were here was a year ago. It was an excellent show. It took a fucking year to get you back, unfortunately, but you're here now.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad
I need to be
you
here today. I need to be doing what we do.
Oh, wow.
Because when you get sad and when life smacks the shit out of you, the best way to deal with it is go to work. You know, just be who you are.
And you've been working.
Yeah, I work constantly. And I've always found, the older I get, that I can work harder.
You work harder?
Yes, and I always found that I can work better. And I always found, to this day, that the work is the reward. So when the pandemic came, I instantly started doing these shows.
Yeah.
These alone shows. Mm-hmm. And when I did it, I met this guy who was the cameraman who does the shows with me.
I was going to ask you who's doing
Tom.
That. Okay.
He's a freak of a guy. I know him a little bit, but the more
there's got to be a story there.
Yeah, he's a very cool dude. I mean, he's like, and you would never know it, but he's super intelligent, and he has a lot of experiences and a lot of similar experiences to me.
Okay,
we're in the same age group, and he's kind of like a lifelong music guy. Only he was brought up by I don't know what I don't educated people. His father was a judge.
Okay.
And his father was like a very serious soldier during World War II. His father was one of the guys, I just found this out, his father was one of the first guys to go into Adolf Hitler's summer home that he had up in the mountains. I forget what there was a name for it. I told Harry about it. Harry just started going, he knew everything about it.
Okay.
But Tom's father was one of the first soldiers to do that. And Tom's father was also a judge here. And he was the judge that took Woodland Churchill High School, which is where I went. And back in the 70s, they turned it into Woodland Hills High School.
Right.
So they took this high school that I went to, which was all white kids and mostly rich kids, except for a handful of us white trash that went with the rich kids. And they blended this school together with the ghetto schools. And a lot of hate was going on at the time.
I bet.
And Tom's father was the guy that had the vision, and that's how I see it, to pull this off. Because these communities, you know, if this happened in the 70s, these communities weren't going to make it through the 90s. You know, so the fact that they did this before society started falling apart was a vision of his father's. And he said his father got death threats from all this. And and his mother was born in Austria. So anyway, Tom would never, you don't know it when you hang with him, but he got a million experiences and from the brainiac side of shit. And it's nice to be around him with me talking street level bullshit. You know, to have that guy, you know, like when I have a question or I need to know something, I can say to him, hey, Tom.
Yeah.
And he'll tell me.
Yeah.
And I know that it's not bullshit because now that I know his background, I realize he's a super intelligent cat. It's nice to have that, you know, especially when you're doing an alone show. Couple wires, you know, you get out there and, all right, entertain these hunchers.
Yeah, but you're in your element, though. Like, a lot of people, and I would say in my experience, most performers, they got about an hour in them. You know, I'm just being kind that they have about an hour in them. But for you to get up there and go 2, 3, and you could go longer and be able to do that, that's kind of a unique, special thing. I think so, in terms of performing.
It's easy for me.
Okay.
I think I was born to be this guy. When I think of my father, and when I think of my father's brother, who was my Uncle Larry, who was the wildest cat ever from that generation.
Right.
You know what I mean? He was like smoking pot, you know, like when nobody was smoking pot, like in the 40s. You know what I mean? He was hunching, you know.
She was probably really good then, too.
I imagine. And he was a truck driver, and he was doing peels. And
yeah.
He was doing it all.
Right.
And my father drank, but my father wasn't into women. My Uncle Larry had a very full life. And he
That's a good way of putting it.
And he had high level bullshit.
Okay.
When he started talking, everybody shut up. And he had a son, little Larry, who had the exact same gift as his father.
Okay.
And they're both gone now. But both of them, when they started talking, when I met my keyboard player, Larry Seifers, I met him on the street. Larry was playing his goddamn flute on the street in Shadyside.
Okay.
In
70s, right?
Yeah, 70. Literally. Early 70s.
Hippie playing a flute.
Hippie playing a
It always come down to hippie playing a flute.
a goddamn flute out there. You know, like, I can't stand flutes. But anyway, he gets mad at me because I always call it the goddamn. You want to play that goddamn thing? But anyway, he's standing on the street playing this goddamn thing, and I'm watching, and chicks are tuning in.
They're digging it.
I'm watching from the other side of the street, and I got no game whatsoever. I didn't know. How do you get the opportunity to see a girl naked? You know, I didn't know. But I'm watching him calling them in.
Right.
And I used to do a thing, and I would say, "Look at Larry. He's playing that goddamn flute. It serves as a bitch caller." And then I says, "Not a bitch caller, but a bitch caller." Very. Guys shouldn't make jokes like that in today's world because you look like an a-hole. But what are you going to do? But anyway, so I was watching him work, and I said, I got to go over and meet this guy. We didn't know each other. He looked like a combination of Jesus Christ meets Charles Manson at the time. And I'm like, this guy.
There's probably a lot of those guys running around back then.
He was running this Don, and it was working for him.
Okay.
And so I went
it always
over.
comes down to hippie with a flute, right? Playing a flute.
On the streets.
That's what it comes down to.
You go to the place where the young people are, and this guy says, "Get the hell out of here." So anyway, I start talking to him, and I says, "Hey, I'm a musician," and all this bullshit. And he says, "What's your name?" I says, "My name's Norman Nardini." He says, "Nardini?" I says, "Yeah." He says, "You don't happen to be related to Larry Nardini?" I said, "I am." And I knew. As soon as Larry's name come up, I knew that it was going to be
Uncle Larry.
Uncle Larry's son.
Oh, okay.
Who was just like his father.
Okay.
Fantastic. And Larry goes, he says, I went to high school with Larry Nardini. I went, oh, okay. And he says, I'll tell you, he says, and every day when we would sit in homeroom, all the kids would get to homeroom before you start going to your classes. He says, every day, the exact same thing would happen. The intercom would come on, and it would say, "Would Larry Nardini please report to the principal's office?" And it was like, and I just like, yeah, he did go to school. My cousin Larry, because my other cousin, he was always in trouble, and always, the whole way through his life, he was a personality, and just like his father. And so I knew, and my dad was a personality as well.
Okay.
But not like to the extent of those guys. Those guys were world class. My dad was really good, but my dad was too much of a nice person and a family guy to take it to the extent that you need to take it to be world class. You know what I mean?
Understood.
You got to be afraid to, like myself, you got to be afraid to make some people go, "He's an asshole. Why is he talking like that? Why is he acting like that?" If you're afraid that's going to happen, you can't excel to that level.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. You can't be afraid of pissing some people off for being you, right? You've been being you your whole life.
And doing your routine.
Right.
There's a price for it, no matter who you are, no matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like to this day, sometimes people will come on my Facebook page or something. They'll say something like, "I don't like what you're saying," or "I don't like what you're saying." And my old lady will say something like, "Well, why would they say that to you?" I said, "Hey, Toots," I said, "it's cool." Mm-hmm. I says, "That's the cost of being me." I says, "I ain't mad at him for a second." She says, "You're not?" I says, "Aren't you offended by that?" I says, "Not for a minute." I says, "It's just, no matter who I am and no matter what I do, I can't please everybody." And no, Donald Trump can't. Barack Obama can't.
Right.
Joe Biden won't.
Right.
There's people that didn't like Bruno Sammartino.
Right. Yeah, go figure, right?
You know what I mean? It's like...
Two.
But they're there.
Yeah, they're there.
But they exist.
Yeah.
And it's like that's part of... You get with it and you just accept it. Hey, you don't like me? Get over here.
Yeah.
I'm mad at you. I'll trick you into liking me. You give me your ear, I'll figure out a way to. I always call it. I'll pull your pants down, one way or another. Because I'm in that business. I know how to pull strings and how to make people laugh.
Well, I wouldn't think an entertainer can even last if they don't have either thick skin or really understand what you just explained. You can't please everybody.
Most people haven't come that far. Most people don't put themselves in that stream.
Okay.
Especially, not just around here, but most guys that play music, they think the music is enough. And especially if they're getting their music played on the radio and they're getting support from the corporate entities.
Yeah.
They are under the delusion that has significance beyond the significance that it really has.
Okay. And
it upsets me. And one other thing that's weird about doing what I'm doing now with this pandemic and doing my shows is when I mentioned it earlier, a lot of everybody started doing broadcasts and streams when the pandemic started. People aren't doing them anymore. They did 1 or 2, they did 3, or they'd bring their kids in to do it, or their old lady in the room, and then they would do their couple songs, and then they stopped doing it. And
why is that?
You know why? Because they aren't show business people. It isn't real. They aren't whole hog with their necks out. They're there as long as you're pumping them up, as long as there's airplay, and as long as there's a pat on the back, and as long as here's some money. They're out there smiling. But when it comes time to be somebody on your own goddamn steam, when it comes time to, hey, there's 1,000 people out there and they need entertained bad. Look at them. They're lost. They're hurting. They need someone to come out. And that's what this pandemic thing was and is.
Yeah.
People need inspiration. They need you. The only thing that can lift other people up is humanity.
Agreed.
And that's why we have politicians. That's why, we see movies and tell stories.
That's right.
And all those things lift one guy up, or lift one guy up more than another guy, but they're all intended to fold us together as humanity. And that's what I try to do. I try not to seem like I'm real intelligent, because I'm not. But I see these little things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know
absolutely
some writers that write at a really high level, and I know some guys that sing at a high level and guys that play at a high level. But the act of entertainment is just another thing, like playing a guitar.
Yeah.
Or like writing a song, all these things. When you feel more comfortable when that camera's rolling than when it ain't, you're effed up. And that's me. And I think you get a little bit of it in you, Eric. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of people don't know. Like my old lady wouldn't understand that, and we've been together 45 years. But
God bless you.
She wouldn't understand. She doesn't understand that. She's just a normal person.
Right.
She wants to blend in.
Right.
She doesn't ever want to be noticed. When we got married, she says, "I don't want to take your name." And she says, because every time your name comes up, people start talking. And she says, I want people to like me for who I am.
It's not for everybody, man. The show is not for everybody.
I want people to know me for who I am.
Right.
So I don't want to have your name.
That's okay.
I had no problem with it. I was like, hey, whatever you want to do.
Absolutely.
But I understood, because I'm so out there and so crazy. You know what I mean? I know I'm nuts, and I know that I'm unique. And
but you have to be a little bit, right? I mean, to be in the business you're in,
you got to be a fighter
and to survivor.
I mean, I think there's people that are born to be boxers. There's people that are born to be MMA fighters.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's
We've had a couple on this show. I
When
would
they-
agree with you.
when they come alive. And their whole life, they'll spend all week or all month or all year
Yeah. Yeah.
in preparation
Absolutely. They'll tell me that. They've told me that.
because it's real, because it's their reality. And my situation is with this entertaining thing, it's my reality. You know, I mean, I'm crazy passionate about the music and crazy passionate about studying the music
Right.
and getting the most out of what I call my limited ability to play music. I don't see myself as a free gift musician. I've worked with cats that have a free gift, that when they pick up a guitar, you know, Warren King,
Right.
that I play with,
Right. Right.
he was,
Second nature to them.
when he played with Frank Zorri, when he sang, you know, Petey Hewlett, when he sings, you know, and Pete's as good a musician as he is a singer.
Wow.
You know, and a good athlete. When we were young, he had it all. Pretty, funny, played the shit on a guitar,
Right.
started singing us like, who the hell is it? You know what I mean? He has all these gifts. And I don't see myself as a guy that had the great singing gifts. I don't see myself as a guy that had the great playing gifts. But I do see myself as a guy that had the great entertainment skills and had great arrangement skills. My musical abilities are in my ability to hear the music and to know what everybody should be playing.
Yeah.
And what their
Composition, structure, song structure.
arrangement.
Yeah.
And that's how I got in the business, by knowing what to do with talent. I didn't realize that was talent. I just thought it was like the janitor's job. For real. You know, and that's how I got in. And then things started popping, and one thing after another, I would break down fears.
Right.
And I would grow to the point where I had enough nerve to consider myself someone that could sing a song in public. You know what I mean? That was not all those things. I had to break them down. I didn't think I deserved to be out there because I was hanging with the best in the world.
Okay.
Singers, players.
Right.
And I was doing their music.
Right.
And so for me to step out and act like the star of the show, it took me a long time to get there. I had to have
Really?
a lot of, totally. I had to
Okay.
have a lot of successes on other levels to be able to.
Okay.
And one of the reasons I quit the Diamond, I'm working on 2 albums right now. I just found when I was in, it was called Diamond Reo was
Yes.
the name of the band.
Yep.
And we did one album on Big Tree, which Bob McKay was our lead singer with Frank Zorri, the two of them. And it was more like, I didn't really know what I was doing at the time, but I was in charge of the music, and we did that album and got a deal with the Atlantic label,
Right.
and got out on tour. And then instantly, I was at a new level.
Got it.
Now I was on a national level. Now I was talking to people, and I was competing with. I wasn't competing with some lounge band at the Holiday Inn. I was competing with Kiss.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I was competing with Kansas, Ted Nugent, and so I got into this deep water, and I started learning things and playing shows, and I started seeing what it was like to play for 2,000 people, what it's like to play for 15,000 people. And I started formulating these thoughts and these background, and a few years later, I quit the Diamonds to become Norman. But I would have never quit the Diamonds if the guys, we started, partying too hard and getting stupid, and
Right.
that's when I quit the band. And but I just found a live album that we cut in 1978, the Diamonds,
Right.
and a studio record that we were working on. But I mean, when I say we, mostly it was me, because I was in charge of all that.
Okay.
I'd write the music and get it recorded, and our singer would come in and write the words and write the melodies, and then he stopped coming at all. So as time went on, I kept gaining more and more control of the music
Right on.
because of lack of interest from my partners. And I remember I took this music I was cutting with the Diamonds to the Evil Empire. I didn't call it the Evil Empire then. And they had this program director from out of town. His name was John McGann. And he was a brilliant cat.
Okay.
brilliant radio mind, and he died young from AIDS. I had mentioned earlier another guy that I knew that was one of the first people to die from AIDS. John wasn't one of the first people to die from AIDS, but he died early on.
Right.
In very early 90s. But anyway, when I took him this Diamonds music, and he said it's too heavy for what we're doing. We're not. They were starting to go into like the Cars, and they were getting away from real rock bands, from Free.
Yeah.
You know, Paul Rogers.
Yeah.
You know, the
Bad
really
Company.
manful shit.
Yeah,
you know, they were like, that ain't what we're doing anymore. We're getting sweeter. We're getting, and we're getting
like new wave-ish, or
yes, and having the music sound more amateurish.
Yeah.
Became pop music.
Right.
And he told me this.
Okay.
And every song I'd play for him by the Diamonds with this great singer, he'd always go, the voice doesn't sound like what we're trying to do. The music doesn't sound like what we're trying to do. Where we're going.
Okay.
And then he would mention groups, the Fabulous Poodles, Elvis Costello and Nick Lowe and the Cars. And I said to him, hey, I got this other song. I says, I want you to hear it. And what it was a song I had written that our singer was supposed to sing, but he hadn't showed up for the sessions.
Okay.
And sometimes I would write these songs, and he wouldn't even want to sing them because he didn't like them.
Okay.
Which was cool. I understood because he was a real talent. And I play him this song, and he says, I like this. He says, I like that. I says, I like your singer on this one. I says, well, that ain't our singer. He said, who is it? I said, that's me just doing the demo. And he says, well, I like the sound of your voice. And that is when first time I actually thought in my life, this was in 1978.
Okay.
I actually thought maybe I could sing.
Okay.
But
that was the validation you needed when he gave you that feedback?
But I didn't really take it as that.
Okay.
I just a little bit of not a light went off, a candle was lit.
Okay.
Very dim.
Okay.
And so that's how it started, and then I kept doing it. And then I broke up the band just because I was so frustrated with everybody's lack of, I took it so goddamn seriously, Eric.
Sure.
But not like normal people. I'm obsessive. I'm insane. I'm not a regular person. And
okay.
I'm nuts. And so when I quit, I didn't have any plans.
All right.
And that's what I says, maybe I'll start a band and I'll use my name, and then people will come to me to be their producer. The bands will know my name, and because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a producer, arranger.
Okay.
And I was writing songs.
Originally, that was the priority.
That's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And that's what I was good at. That was my magic gift.
All right.
That's why the best singers and guitar players would hang out with me, was because I
put it all together.
Took care of the music.
Yeah, I got it. I
remember one time I was working at the studio, and there was this black cat. His name was Floyd Beck. He was from Homewood. He had a beautiful high falsetto voice, really soulful, kind of like Marvin Gaye, but without the business connections and without the support. He was here. And I'm talking to him, and we're smoking joints and just hanging out, and I says, hey man, and he would come to our sessions all the time.
Right.
And I says to him, man, I'm really glad that, to be your friend and to have you come and be interested in what we're doing. And he said to me, he says, hey, he says, I don't want to talk to the guy. He says, I don't want to talk to the guy that plays the guitar. He says, I want a guy that tells the guy that plays the guitar what to play. And he said that to me, and it was like, because he would watch us work, and I would say, here, you do this here, do this here. No, don't do that. Because I heard it all in my head. And that was another little candle going off. It was like, what I was offering something that was more than I gave myself credit for. And then when we started hanging up in New York City with the Diamonds, that's when the engineers and guys would come to me for, well, what should we do? What do you want to do next? Is that good enough? And they started treating me like I was the boss, and no one else did.
Got it.
They just treated me like I was a pain in the ass, the guys in the band. And so So I grew into being able to strap it on and be the front guy. You know, it wasn't my plan. I didn't think I had the talent. I mean, I didn't even imagine that I had the talent.
Okay.
Because I was so into what I would call real talent, which was Frank Zoy, which was Warren King. And our drummer, Robbie Johns, he was like a natural,
right,
feel-good drummer. He just had the goddamn feel, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, one thing that's so missing in today's music is the feel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you do it all with computers into a click track and
in different rooms. They're in different rooms now. They're not even in the same room recording together anymore. You know?
Bands don't cut. They don't get together.
No.
Some computer operator, they call him a producer. It's like, well, what the hell does he know about the weavery, the you know, the dynamics of what the instruments do and how they do it, and when you see a cat play, to know what to do with him, or when you have a bass player and a drummer or a rhythm section that's really clicks, and you want to keep them together. Because that's the feel of your record, you know, like the Muscle Shoals rhythm section.
Absolutely.
You know, that was the rhythm section. You know, Eric Clapton would have these rhythm sections. Stevie Ray Vaughan had his rhythm section. You know, these rhythm sections were the sand, you know, that everybody was walking on. You know, and that's disappeared.
Yeah.
Now it's a computer operator that puts the track together. Now they have these... They have all these pop records where it's just like dun, 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 like they just play these piano chords, or some computer operator figured out how to make a chord, and you know, and you know, even like that chick Adele, you know. And then there's that other guy from over there that he's a nice soul singer. I forget what his name is, but his records are all that same way, and it's like the person in charge of making the music ain't real musical.
Yeah, mechanical instead.
And that's cool, but and I can understand people thinking I'm an asshole for saying what I'm saying. For someone who's so far down on the totem pole like myself to say Adele's records could be a whole lot goddamn better than they are. You know, what right do I have to say that? I know I have the right.
Of course.
And I know I have the Corleones, and I also have the know-how to do it. To take her and take her to a I don't want to say a better level, but to another level, to a more human. Because that's what I've spent my whole life doing. And
something real, where it's more real.
Musical. Something human.
Organic is the word, I think.
I use human because that's the thing that's missing. By producers, they don't see human doesn't factor into the new producers.
Well, how we get there? How did that evolution kind of start?
Technology.
Yeah.
We created technology that was a job unto itself.
Okay.
Because technology could do all these things, all these functions, but to do it, you had to know so much. That was a job in itself.
All right.
And in other words, it took being an engineer, which was a job in itself. You know, guys like Tom Dodd that did Clapton, that did the Allman Brothers, that did the Stones. Those engineers had super ears and super feel for people and for songs.
Yeah, there's an art to that for sure.
Yeah, and they were rare, and they were valued. But now what happened is, you know, like it started happening in the 90s. You know, these guys that were really good at computers could do all these functions on a machine, and bands started like thinking like that meant something.
Yeah.
And they started turning the power over to these guys. And now it's 25 years later, and here we sit.
Right.
And I just think I watched it happen, and I watched from the sidelines, you know, because I haven't really been allowed to be in at the high-end level of the music business. But I know every chance I get to compete on that level, you don't want to get in the ring with this mess because I'm human.
Yeah.
And I walk in Attitude walks in the room 20 minutes before I get there.
No doubt about it. I felt your presence 20 minutes before you were ever here. That's what Tom, our photographer, said. Norman's on his way, huh? I said, yeah, he's on his way.
I can smell him. But that's the thing. I mean, it's like you know, Muddy Waters was so goddamn beautiful and was so much of a man. And I've been talking about this the past year or so. Sometimes the man or the woman is bigger than their own music. You know, and examples of that would be Muddy Waters.
Okay.
Like Muddy, every blues guy, there was guys that sang better than Muddy. There's guys that played better than Muddy. But there was no one that was more of a man. You know, his songs, I spell M. You know what I mean? Oh, I mean, and him, a lot of his songs were written by Willie Dixon.
Yeah.
You know, but Muddy,
right.
when Muddy put them on, he wrote them.
Got it.
Because he manned them up. You know, Stevie Ray Vaughan is a guitar player. Stevie Ray Vaughan carried the blues industry.
No question.
From nothing to every son of a bitch whose wife bought him a Stratocaster thinking he could go out. Everybody wanted to be him.
There was talk that Clapton would have never seen that next resurgence in his career had Vaughan not brought the blues back to the forefront. You know what I mean?
No, but I say he carried the blues industry on his back from the time he hit the scene. He put the whole industry on his back, and since he's been gone, every year the blues industry gets smaller.
Yeah.
We need a new hero.
It's a shame.
I mean, Johnny Cash.
Well, don't you think some kids tried? I mean, there was that Johnny Lang. There was
sure.
There was there was the other one in the '90s, the young kid. It'll come to me. But there were some young hot shot players, but they weren't entertainers.
They weren't the man.
Yeah.
Stevie Ray Vaughan, Johnny Cash is another example.
Okay.
Willie Nelson is another example. These guys, who they are, is even bigger than their music, which is at the top of the level.
Got it.
We're losing, you know, Frank Sinatra.
Right. Oh, yeah. I'm a Sinatra fan. I got plenty of the records.
Frank effing Sinatra was Muddy Waters.
Yeah.
He was Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Understood.
The man himself, Keith Richards. You know, there's people that, Jack Nicholson. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
I mean, who would you rather hang out with than Jack effing Nicholson? That son of a bitch was just, you know, I mean, and that's like Stevie Ray Vaughan. That's the factor. You know, when I was a kid, I didn't understand these dynamics that I'm talking about now. I didn't realize that a man could be so manful.
Yeah.
That his aura, you know, when Johnny...
The presence, like, yeah.
Their humanity.
Yeah.
When Johnny Cash walked in a goddamn room, everybody shut up.
Yeah.
Every chick looked at him and went like, that's Johnny effing Cash. You know what I mean? And in his own weird way, Willie Nelson does it in a totally different way.
But still does it.
But he's...
The gravitas or whatever, the word that everybody likes to use now, gravitas.
I don't know that word.
I just hear it on the radio. I mean, you have weight. You walk in, you're weighty. Your personality precedes you.
That's what I'm talking about. And that's... cool. You know who has it is Southside Johnny.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever hung out with Southside Johnny.
I have not hung out with him, but I know he is.
He's crazy as they come. He's out of his mind, and he has a really beautiful voice. I mean, when I think of Southside Johnny, I think of the sound of Southside's voice is the sound of Asbury Park.
Okay. The Jukes, right?
Pardon me?
It was Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the name of his band. I'm a friend of his, and he's out of his mind. And like, he's one of them guys that can't say anything nice to you. That's his thing. Like, that's how if he says something nice to you, he don't like you.
Got it.
But the crazier he taught, you son of a bitch, you're no goddamn good. You know, when he starts talking to you like that, he likes you. He's thrown me out of his dressing room 3 or 4 times.
Really?
Oh, yeah. 3 or 4 times.
Wow.
I remember one time I mentioned one of his wives. His first wife was a friend of mine. And she was from West Virginia, like my old lady. And I said something to him. I says, we were in the dressing room, and I said something to him about, I says, well, fuck. I says, John, I says, I'm a friend of Betty's, your first wife. And he went, talking about my wife. He says, get the hell out of here. And he threw me out. And then I was like, dude, I'm gone. And then later that night, we're hanging out, you know, and just totally normal, like it never happened. I remember I was playing at Jurgles, and I was opening up for him, and you ever hang in Jurgles?
Yeah.
You know how the dressing room is
90s.
up above the stage?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Well, I'm on stage, and I'm opening for those guys. It's just a couple years ago. And I says, hey, guys.
Oh, the new Jurgles.
Yeah.
Okay, I've only been to new Jurgles twice, but the old Jurgles.
Okay,
yeah. The old Jurgles.
The dance club.
Yeah.
Well, this is a show club more.
Okay.
And above the stage is the dressing room.
Right.
So you can see, like, you come out of your dressing room, and the people in the front can just look up and see you looking over the balcony.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, so as soon as we're done, I says, an amazing band, a friend of mine, great band. The Jukes, I said, Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes going to be out as soon as we're done. And as soon as I said that, he's opened the dressing room door, and he was reading a newspaper, and he started ripping up the newspaper and throwing it at me. Screaming, you son of a bitch, you're no goddamn good, I'll beat your ass. And he's screaming. Like this is in between songs. And then all of a sudden he slept, and he went like this. And then he just turned around and went back in the dressing room. And that was his way of saying that Norman's all right.
Oh, that's fucking funny, man. That's funny.
You know, it's how he is.
But he had that presence.
Still does. He can be nice. He refuses to do it. But I mean, but he is in his world. He's a figure,
right,
that you look to for that. If he's in a good mood, what's wrong with Johnny?
Got it.
He must be depressed because he isn't MFing somebody, you know. And but that humanity thing, like, you know, and there's so many different. John Prine, who just passed away. I mean, he had a gentle way about him and a very intelligent, humorous way about him, and he was an icon.
Yeah.
In that simple.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'm attracted to.
Right.
Bonnie Raitt. Mm-hmm. I mean, Bonnie effing Raitt. When she walks in a room, everybody shuts up.
Yeah. No doubt.
You know,
no doubt.
Because she earned it. And the sound of her voice and the songs she's picked and some of the songs she's written. I Can't Make You Love Me. I mean, these things are like landmarks in American music, and those are the things I'm looking for. I can't even listen to pop music. And I tried to watch the award show a couple of weeks ago with my old lady, and I looked at her, I says, hey, Toots, I says, I ain't with it. I says, I can't, you know, this guy, they called him The Weeknd. He was wearing these masks and things. And
I had no idea.
And I just didn't feel it, you know. It's just like the songs and a lot of the girl singers, nice voices, good-looking girls, but there's no connecting factor. There's no that where that artist reaches out from the screen.
Right.
I'm human.
Right.
I'm here for you.
Right.
I feel you. You feel me. You know, it's like they become more than three-dimensional. You know, when
maybe they're not given the chance, though. I mean, these companies that grab a hold of them, and then they process their music and they formulate it, and you know.
Well, what I would say is this. I think companies. I think Chris Stapleton is someone today who's a real music person.
Right.
And he defied country music, you know, just like Willie Nelson did, and made his name.
Right.
So what happens is, people that aren't real music people look to the business to make them into something.
Okay.
As opposed to, I'm going to be something.
Right.
I make me.
Right.
The business doesn't. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. You know, when I was a kid, I thought the music business would make me. I didn't know any better. I was so effing green and so wantful and so impressed by the machine and so impressed by the stars and the music. I got in the business. I didn't know what the hell they said, put these clothes on, get your hair cut like this, do this. We're going to do these. We need more cover songs, Okay. I didn't know. Because I wasn't somebody.
I get it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
And that's the dynamic that's going on. Like these shows on TV where everybody's the singers and all that. Those aren't music people. They have nice voices.
Right.
Some of them are good looking. Some of them are attractive, but they're not the guys. They're not Chris Stapleton that's out there doing gig after gig after gig, and people saying, "You got to hear this guy. You got to see this guy." He did it in a organic way. He went out, and that's like what I had with my Tigers. We went out and did the gigs, one stinking rotten thankless gig after the other. We were scrapping in them goddamn bars,
right?
Putting on a show,
right?
Acting like we was somebody. And you know what? People said, "They're somebody."
Right.
The record company didn't tell us to do that. We did that on our own, but the only way we did it was after me being in the Diamonds, put lights on in my head and gave me enough of self-confidence to think I could be somebody. Do you know what I mean?
So you weren't born. Were you born with it? Do you think you were born with it? It just took a while to come out?
I believe I was born with
the entertainment gene.
I was born with the entertainment gene, and I was born with I don't know how to call it. I was born with an arrangement gene.
Okay.
Those were my two free gifts. Songwriting, I wasn't born with.
Okay.
But I developed it. I worked and worked. I didn't really start feeling like I was a writer till about 35 years into writing songs.
Okay.
And a lot of my best songs that people like, I wouldn't consider myself a writer when I wrote them. I put them together.
Right.
And I trotted them out and I fronted them. And some of them I love.
Right.
Some of them I was doing some things right.
Right.
But I don't think I became a writer until I was 60 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I think most people that write pop songs aren't writers. They do it, but they're not writers. They haven't broken down the barriers, and they haven't learned what to seek. How do you go three-dimensional? How do you make a movie?
Right.
And 3 verses and a chorus. That's writing.
How do you make those words leave the page so they become three-dimensional?
How do you see them walk? How do you see the characters walk? Or how do you lift someone's heart up? By the second verse. Here's one of the tricks to it. How do you go into a room full of strangers, play 4 hours of music they never heard before? That's how I did it. And the way I did it was I stood on the shoulders of the greats. In other words, everything I wrote sounded like you heard it before.
Isn't that the trick?
It's one of the tricks. It's legit. It's a legit way of, when a lot of these young guys, say, I wrote this song, I want you to hear it, see what you think. And I would say to them, why are you, what you're doing there musically isn't something that the music wants done to it. It's like you took a girl on a date and were doing things to her that she didn't want done.
Right.
But you forced it on him. But that isn't a victory.
Right.
That isn't what you want to happen between you and a girl,
right,
or what you want to happen between you and a song. The excitement is when the song gives it up.
It responds.
And that opens up the gate for people to find it human. And takes a long time to do. So when you're standing on stage, doing this music that no one's ever heard before. You're watching everything they're doing. You're watching if their feet are tapping under the table. You're watching if by the end of the song they're singing along.
Yeah.
And they don't even know the words.
You don't miss any of that stuff. You
Ever.
don't miss any of that
I
stuff.
never did a gig that I didn't take seriously. And I know a lot of cats that play that would say, boy, that audience sucked. And I never once said that in my life. Because I know I don't judge. It's not my place to judge an audience. It's my place to judge my performance and my music. It's the fun starts here. If I didn't win that audience over, I want to know why.
Yeah, but that's ownership, though. And a lot of people don't want. They won't take ownership in anything, let alone their craft. I mean, that's full ownership. That's rare.
Remember, I said earlier, my old lady told me when we first got together, not long after we got together, that you think everybody's like you. They're not.
Thank God.
But I mean, that's what I thought. But I mean, the way she said it was like she understood that I wasn't like regular people,
right.
That I took it more seriously.
Right.
And that when I said I was going to do something, I meant I was going to do something.
Yeah.
Like, like if somebody says, hey, would you produce something for me? They don't understand what they're saying to me. Because when they're saying that to me, I take that on as a huge responsibility.
Right.
They might say that to another producer, and the producer would say, yeah, I'll produce you. In other words,
service.
I'll get your project done.
Right.
I'm not into getting projects done.
That's lip service.
When I produce you, I produce you.
Right.
Every word of every song.
Done.
The rhythm track, the instrumentation.
Right.
I'll spend a year preparing you to cut. I just don't want to go in and cut what people think, and producers think that, I have these couple songs, want to produce them. That ain't how I work. It's like, well, I got to get you ready.
Right.
I got to prepare it because I know you ain't ready to do I know you ain't ready to do world-class work. But if I'm going to produce you, you have to let me put you through those changes. Or hire one of these other guys.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to knock them or saying they can't do credible work.
Yeah.
They don't do what I do.
Yeah.
And they don't see things the way, like my old lady said, not everybody's like you.
Yeah.
And that's...
Well, you need the space, right? If you're going to do what you're going to do for them, you need the space. They need to give you the space to do it.
They need to turn it over to me.
Right.
They need to say...
And that's hard for an artist, though, isn't it? I mean, when roles reversed, when you would turn you and your band and your work over to a producer, it's hard. It's hard. It has to be.
I did it once or twice. And when I did it after I had effed up a couple projects on my own.
Okay.
And so I thought, and I had already done great work. I had done some great work, and then I did a couple projects that I screwed up.
Okay.
And I was the face of those projects. And when the chance came that they wanted to put me in with some talented people, I took it and I shut up. And I watched them work, and I learned a lot.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it's difficult. I couldn't have done it without having screwed up first.
All right.
If I hadn't made a couple records that I made one particular record that I wasn't proud of. And that, whenever they says, we want to put you in with somebody, that's when I says, yeah, okay. Because I knew I did.
You were humble enough to
I knew I made mistakes.
Yeah, you recognized it.
I knew I made mistakes. I knew I didn't make the record I needed to make.
Okay.
And that was on me. And I wouldn't say anything different. You know what I mean? So I've had these ups and downs and these experiences, and I've always tried to see them clearly. I know a lot of cats that do this shit that every record they make, they think is, the world didn't get it. And it's like, well, no, you didn't work hard enough at it, first off.
Yeah.
It's weird, to great music sometimes it's there's a depth to it. You know, there's a lineage to it, and you have to get, you know, choose the people you work with carefully, and because not everybody's capable of doing great work. You know,
Agreed.
and that's never going to change. You know, so you know, I know at different times in my life, I haven't been capable of doing great work on every level. Playing great, singing great, writing great, producing great. You know, all those different ways of making music, they're all different functions that you have to constantly keep up.
Right.
And that's why I work all day, every day, all through the years. I never stopped working. When I was young, I thought I knew how to work hard. I thought I was the most dedicated as anyone could be. And the older I get, the more I realize I could get more out of each day. I could work smarter. I could accomplish more. I could think better, you know, and I'm still at 70 years old, that guy. I'm constantly trying to reevaluate and figure out how to be better at the most simple things. I always say, you know, music, there's just a handful of goddamn notes. It's just like an artist. Okay, here's a couple colors, a few shapes. Okay, Michelangelo, what do you got in your pants? And that's what music's like.
Right. I get it.
And
I get it.
you know, how do you explain to someone, like a regular person, how do you say, yeah, I've been working with the same 7 notes, you know, like about 55 years into them 7 notes, a couple of scales, a few words here and there. My whole life has been spent
Right.
chasing them 7 notes. And but then you look at Michelangelo and you look at the artists and classical players and jazz players, and
We'll give the jazz guys 9 notes, maybe.
Pardon me?
We'll give the jazz guys 9 notes. They'll find 2 notes that we typically wouldn't find, right? Those jazz players are a little different.
They are. And there's a couple of them that have been so inspirational.
Yeah.
You know, that found things, you know, that there was you know, I don't know if you know who Charlie Bird was. He was a sax player.
Yep.
And they say he was bigger, badder, better, stronger than anybody ever at everything he did.
I believe it. There's a great documentary I think that Eastwood did on him.
Yes, yeah. called Bird.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't. There's a couple stories about him I can't tell because they're too fantastic. But they said he died of old.
Too fantastic.
They're too fantastic.
Great. That is great.
He died like at the age of 35 of old age.
Wow.
Because, like some guys I've grown up with and worked with, they just couldn't stop partying. They just. That's who they were.
Right.
That's how they were. You know, they died of old age in their 30s. I had a couple of them that made it through the 50s up to 60s, but they never, ever turned down a drink. Never turned down a line.
Oh, yeah.
Never turned down some type of pills. You know, all that shit.
Right.
I mean, that's... And I don't look down on them for it. I look at it like...
It's their choice.
That's the life they wanted to live.
Right.
That was their you know, life as art is something to think about, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's how the artistic stance, that they took was, this is who I'm going to be. I'm going to live it out, and then I'm going to be dead.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I've worked with guys like that.
The entertainment gene, though, fascinates me. Like, I mean, you can go so many different directions with it. I have a little bit of something in me that makes it okay in my world to speak to, you know, groups of people in business, or really, I'm not afraid to get up on stage and do my thing, whatever that thing is. I'm not afraid of doing that. But I don't have it like you have it. You have that ultimate. You have that extra gear. Like, there's just a, you know, and I wish I had what you had. Like, I case in point, I could write a song, get up there. I probably could sing it if I'm confident in it. but I don't have that extra gear to become Norm. I can't sing it like Norm would or go to that place that you go to. And that's what's fascinating to me. So as someone who's not afraid to perform, I don't have that extra gear, man. And that the greats do. People that really love what they do, you feel it, you know? It's beyond an entertainment, Gene. You see what I'm saying? There's something extra. Do you feel that way?
We talked about that. Johnny Cash.
Yeah, it's like extra.
Stevie Ray Vaughan. Willie Nelson. Sometimes the person is the missing link of the equation. You know, Willie Nelson's music would be great. Johnny Cash's music would be great. But the fact that Johnny Cash was Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're talking about, is that
it's like a personality on top of all of it, you know?
An allure and a
charisma, maybe.
That's a word people use. Passion. You know, I know this. Any things that I might have that would be special, I grew into, and I beat them out of myself.
Okay.
I beat the fuck out of myself the whole way through, and still do. You know, I was always a big mouth. I was always a show off. I always wanted everyone's attention. My mother used to say, "Hey, mister, the whole world hears your big mouth." Like it was a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I needed that. You know, because I needed to be able, something that was also natural for me was shame.
Okay.
I'm aware of shame. I have shame. You know, and I have self-respect, and I have respect for my family. Like as goofy as I am, and as the stupid shit I say and the stupid shit I do, I would never want to embarrass my family.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So,
right.
And I would never ever want to wake up in the morning and say I didn't try hard enough.
Got it.
And I would want to say I was fooling myself. I didn't look at that clearly. I was the one that was wrong in those situations, or I made a mistake on that. I screwed that up. Mm-hmm. I have all those things as well as the bullshit gene. So I tend to look at myself as a constant work in progress, and very lucky to be raised by the people that I was.
Okay.
That taught me to don't fool yourself. Don't be an asshole. You know, if you're wrong, you're wrong. Mm-hmm. And there's no shame in being wrong. The shame comes when you're wrong and you won't admit it. Yeah. And that's when you stop growing, and that's when you stop getting a lot out of life.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm lucky that if I'm have any specialness to me, a lot of it is because the people that raised me up wanted me. They give me a lot. They give me, you know what I mean? They give me a lot I used to bitch to my mother about how I was blackballed in Pittsburgh and how the other musicians never stood up for me. Mm-hmm. And my mother would say, okay, so what? And that would piss me off. But I wouldn't say nothing because she's my mom. But the more I thought about it, what she was saying to me is this. You got to live the life you wanted to live. You picked the life you lived.
Right.
You lived it to the fullest. And truthfully, if you wanted those guys and you wanted the corporate people to forgive you and be with you, you could make that happen.
Right. You'd play a different game.
And that's what she
didn't.
But that's what she was saying to me.
Right.
Look, you did it all.
Your way.
And one of the reasons they don't like you, you know why they don't like you. Because you made it that way.
Right.
And if you wanted to change it,
you could.
You're powerful and talented enough to do that. But you won't. You'd rather be the black sheep.
Because she knew her boy.
Yeah. And she also knew that she was proud that I did my own thing. And she was not just proud of me, she was proud of herself.
Right.
For raising me to do my own thing. and for stepping out of the way and watching it happen. You know, there was no problems in it for her because it was all the way it was supposed to be, and she was older and wiser, and she knew, like, well, what are you bitching about? You got what you wanted. You wanted to be the man. You wanted to be, you wanted to be a tough guy.
That's human nature that we do that.
But at the time, I was too young to see it and sense it. And in her own way, she pointed that out. It's like, hey, mister.
Yeah.
Everything you got, you dealt yourself that hand. And she was right. But it took me...
It took you a while to figure that out.
Took me for a while to understand what she was saying. And that, and it's cool. There's nothing wrong with being where you are.
Right.
It's okay. Accept the fact that you're be proud of it. And
sometimes we get what we want, and we can't recognize that it's happened to us. Like, there was a moment you're saying that you literally were living the life that you created the way you want, but it wasn't good enough in your brain, or something wasn't going your way. And sometimes you just needed to be someone else on the outside to look in and realign you. Hey, you orchestrated and you did exactly. And how many people can't? How many people get up every day and do things and spend their time doing something they're not passionate about? I would say most of society, right?
No question. And that's what she was saying. Was like, you won.
Yeah.
And you're bitching.
You won.
Shut up.
Right.
In her own way. She was just like saying, would you just shut up? Well, I mean, what do you want out of life? You wanted to be the rebel. You wanted to be the badass. You wanted to study music all day, every day. You wanted to go on the road. You wanted to do this. You did all that. What do you... And now the other guys don't like you? And the corporate people are afraid of you?
Yeah.
Well... you could change. Could, if you did everything you did,
right?
You could change those other things. They're all just little factors, but you won't change them because
if the lure of being successful, guided by a corporate philosophy, like if they were going to take you and do this to your career and make you another thing, if you were okay with that, you take the money and do it.
I'd have been there,
right? But that wasn't you.
I wanted them to understand what I knew that they didn't. That being the way I was made me.
Yeah, but you could never have changed. I can't see how you're wired in the friendship that we have. We developed. The time we spent together. I can't see you becoming somebody that ain't you. Now you might have been able to do it when you were very young, maybe.
No.
Well, there's no way I could ever see you doing that.
And I didn't know that.
Okay.
I mean, even when I was young, I was an a-hole. When I was young,
that's great, though.
When I was young, when I heard a record that sucked, I'd say it. When I saw a band that sucked, I'd say it. And everybody go, why are you saying? Well, you ain't done nothing. And I'm just telling you, that ain't what it is. That's bullshit. and I didn't hide that, And
I love that, though.
Not because I knew. I didn't know that I was right because I was too young and I didn't have enough experiences.
Right.
But I said what I felt.
Right.
And my standards, I always had these standards that were higher than other people.
Right.
And were more exclusive. To get into the clubs that I had in my mind, the best blues guys, the best singers, the best songwriters, the best acts, I had decided who those people were.
Got it.
And everybody else was bullshit. You know what I mean? And I was like,
I understand.
Set in my ways, and as a teenage boy, before I had accomplished anything, and that never went away. And what I think the best part about the way I was raised was, I was raised to be able to keep those ideas, but still grow. Mm-hmm. Because I had to self-evaluate, and when I was wrong, I had to say I was wrong. Do you know what I mean? To myself, and when I had to acknowledge other people's talents, and so I was really lucky to be raised by the people I was raised by. My mother was phenomenal. So was my father. They were these people that very unremarkable. You would never like my old lady. You wouldn't pick them out of a crowd. They're very low key, don't want to be noticed, don't want to be talked about.
Nothing wrong with that.
But it ain't me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. I 100%. I get it.
It ain't me. But I'm a product of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm thankful that I'm a product of them because I can be 70 years old and feel like a child and feel like I learn every day.
Right on.
Feel like I want to kick everybody's ass, but if I get in a ring with somebody that happens to kick my ass, I'll walk over to them and shake their hand.
Yeah.
And say, I was proud to fight you, and you did a great job. You kicked my ass, and I accept that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but in my mind, I'm thinking, but we're getting a ring again.
Because you're unrelenting.
Be ready. Be ready. Do you know what I mean? And that's how I am. And I ain't mad at other people that that want to kick their asses. I want to.
Yeah.
I want to teach them.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I want to teach them how to be better. I could say to them, "Oh, here's what you did. Here's what you said. Here's what." Or when I hear a song, here's the lines that you needed to change. Here's these chords don't make no goddamn sense. Here you should have done. You know what I mean? All these things are in my head. They were in my head when I was 15 years old.
Yeah.
All the things about the music. I heard every instrument, and I would.
Well, see, that's a gift. It's a gift.
I didn't think of it was a gift. I just thought it was a problem. Because everyone, because I was told that it was. I'd play records for other people, and I'd say, "See, when they did this, they should have did this," and they go like, "Who? What the fuck are you?"
You couldn't listen to it for the enjoyment because you were tearing it apart.
Somewhere over the rainbow. How about that, right?
Love that
Want to do a song?
Yes, let's break for a song. Absolutely.
Let's do one. Okay. Eric and I have been talking about, me shooting my big mouth off about my parents.
Yep.
And I wrote a song a couple years ago, and I never finished it. But because of the pandemic, I've had time to finish it. And it's a song for old people.
Okay.
It's an old people Christmas song.
Old people Christmas song. Okay.
You know how most songs are for kids?
Yeah.
Christmas
yeah,
songs.
No doubt. Yeah. No doubt.
What is it? Frosty the Snowman and those songs. They're for kids. This is a song for older people in that my wife and I, we never had children. So Christmas is different for us than for other people that have kids because that lineage turns over to the children.
Right.
But for her and I, it never turned over because we celebrate my sister's kids.
Right.
But there's a missing link.
Okay.
And that's what this song is about.
All right.
And it's called It Sure Don't Seem Like Christmas.
Okay.
And once again, I have to
sounds a little sad there, Norm.
Let's see what you think.
Okay.
The weather outside is chilly. The snow on the ground. Neighbors sing Christmas carols. Church bells ring all over town. We gather our family together. celebrate holiday cheer as the children open their presents. My eyes fill up with tears, and all I want for Christmas is one more Christmas time. Wake up Christmas morning, see wonder in the eyes of the folks that raised me up. 'Cause without them here, it sure don't seem like Christmas. Sat down at the table for dinner, we all bowed our heads, shimmering in the candlelight. A Christmas prayer was said. We all did some laughing, looking at old black and whites. Manic Christmas mornings, partying Christmas nights. And all I want for Christmas is one more Christmas day, like the ones we used to have. I wish Santa could find a way to make things like they was. Without them here, it sure don't seem like Christmas. All that's left are traces of the smiles on their faces, the simple things that they said, still rolling in my head. I still hear them singing and laughing out loud. Take me way back when I'm a child again, and all I want for Christmas is one more Christmas time. Wake up Christmas morning and see wonder in the eyes of the folks that raised me up. 'Cause without them here, it sure don't seem, it sure don't seem like Christmas. Sure don't seem like Christmas.
All right, so I wanted not to get you any angrier than you once in a while happen to get. So I don't mean to get into a sore subject with you, but I want to flesh this out. Like, let's talk a little bit about Pittsburgh rock and roll. Where you think your legacy is now, where you think it will be in the future when you're gone, when people look back at Pittsburgh rock and roll, and just basically how you've maneuvered your career in this town. Let's talk a little bit about it.
I like that word, maneuver.
Because I think it's an appropriate. You maneuvered well. I think you maneuvered well. I always see my view of you has always been exceptionally favorable for a lot of reasons. It was not just the music; it's because your persona. I just dig it because as a little kid, I like the obstinate, somewhat belligerent people who just don't give a shit and do what they want to do. I like Johnny Rotten of the Sex Pistols. I like him as an old man because he just tells it like it is, and if you don't like it, he's braver than me. You're braver than me. I can't be like you. So it's fascinating to me when people live their life unvarnished, no bullshit, and still find a way to be successful without how would I say it? Without conforming. And that's what I see in you. That's the kind of person you are. So people who do that in life, to me, is fascinating because I'm not quite brave enough to do it to that extent. You've basically maneuvered your entire career that way, and I can imagine running into various entities in town and clubs and radio stations and all that. Your nonconformist ways must have really ended up with some legendary entanglements. Confrontations, fun, not so fun. I want to hear some of that shit. Well, I laid a lot of shit there, but I mean that's how I feel and that's one of the reasons I was so excited in the beginning when you agreed to do the show. I'm like, holy fuck, Norman Nardini is going to sit down with me. This is going to be insane because you the first time I saw you, I knew of you. The first time I saw you perform was when I got the nights confused, and I went to see my uncle. I wanted to see my uncle's band
Terry.
when he was with Gary Baloma. And I had a friend, Patrick Hobbs, who had seen you multiple times for years prior, and he goes, Terry's not here, man, but Norman Nardini said, we're staying.
Was it at the Decade?
No, it was the Decade. Decade. And then years later, I saw you at Gene's Blues Bar many times, but there's the Decade. And we got the nights mixed up. And I was like, okay. And that night, I realized I was watching something that was way beyond rock and roll. I was watching someone perform. Like, I was watching, like, a combination of, like, I don't know, a little bit of Mick Jagger in there. There's a little bit of, like, Roger Daltrey's bravado. There's a little bit, like, there's a little bit of, like, not that I'm a big fan of Bruce Springsteen, but just a little bit of, like, all these different kind of, like, national entertainers all wrapped up in the one person. And you just took us on, like, a 2-hour ride that night. And you were so interactive. I walked away from that like, fuck, I've never seen anyone really hit the stage like that. At least in Pittsburgh, I'd never seen that before.
You know,
that was a new thing to me.
People used to say to me that I reminded them of Jerry Lewis.
I can see that. I can see that. At least the films that I saw of him or the recordings I've seen him play.
I don't know. I mean, it all seems so natural to me.
Okay.
You know, the performance side of things poured out. There was never much to think about with that. It was always just
like a reflex.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hit. We're hitting. What time we hit? You know, that would be that. You know, and I used to get the guys together right before we go on with the Tigers. Because when I played with the Diamonds, I was the low man on the totem pole.
Yeah.
I mean, I ran the band and I put the music together.
Right.
But as personality-wise, I was the last vote. In a way, I wasn't.
Well, it wasn't your band, right?
No, it was my band.
Okay.
But the guys I was with didn't treat me like the leader.
Okay.
The band worked for them.
Okay.
And I accepted that.
All right.
And it didn't seem weird to me. I was cool with it. You know, I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have kept going on and on and on had they not stopped contributing to the music.
Okay.
But when I started to tie, but the problem with that band, it was like getting gigs and getting money and, you know, dealing with business shit. It was all done to please the guys.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas when I wanted to start my new band, I was like, I started a new concept. And I was like, I'm going to get some guys to play for me. I'll pay them by the night. I'll make all the decisions. I'll write all the music. I'll do everything. They'll work for me.
Okay.
And that's what the Tigers was.
Okay.
And it was just like me hiring some guys. And this sounds stupid to say, and it, almost like roadies. I mean, I know
Hired guns.
Yeah, but not so much. I didn't hire them because they were the best musicians.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nobody tried to steal my cats. It wasn't like we were playing with these other bands and they're coming trying to steal my musicians. Nobody wanted them because they weren't that good. But they were right for me. You know, I knew what to do with them, you know, and it was like this team. And so when they came to rehearsal, I says, here's what you're going to play. Here's what you're going to play. Okay. Here's the songs we're going to play. Now, here's what, and then my bass player, Ray Vaughan, who was this best friend of this wonderful friend of mine who just died yesterday.
Right.
Give me a second.
That's all right. That's all right. I had to laugh for a second there when you still talked about, you know, they weren't the best players. I think of Neil Young had Crazy Horse, that band Crazy Horse, and the joke was, well, they're there to play my music, and they play my music adequately and to my liking. But the joke was they weren't exceptional musicians, but they were good at what they did.
Has value.
Yeah, I bet.
They were on my team. You know, these guys, you know, they were young and they had an experience. I had already been in the Diamonds, so I had done things and I had toured and met agents. And
Right.
been on big shows and done shit I shouldn't have done. And so I knew and I knew people. I knew people in New York City. I had friends there. Right when we started the Tigers, I was hanging with guys in New York City trying to get a publishing deal and going up there and doing clubs and doing shit and meeting people in England and knowing all those guys that were in the record business, because the record business was alive at the time.
Yeah, it was a real business.
It was a business. And so I had all that going, and the guys they just fell into it. I mean, because some guys didn't want the gig. Do you know what I mean? And what happened is I had a bass player, Ray Vaughan, who was the guy he was like a handsome guy. And he played bass, and he played okay. And the rest of the guys, I hired them all in one lick.
No shit.
The three of them. They were in a band. Their band was called Resistance, and I was producing them.
Okay.
And what happened was, I wanted the drummer, who was Whitey Cooper, in fact, we were talking last night. I wanted him. I needed him because he played and he sang. And he wanted to rock. And they had two other guys in the band, the bass player, Nason, but I already had a bass player, who was Ray Vaughan.
Right.
So, and they had a guitar player, Paul Shook, who played okay, but he played rock. And I was like, okay, he gets it. And Shook was real handsome. Blue-eyed Pollock boy, big chest on him, shoulders back. I mean, he was good looking, like a movie star good looking.
Right.
And then Nason was kind of like, he had rough skin, he was kind of a little bit bulky, and he didn't even play, his instrument was bass. I said to him, look, I'm hiring all three of you. Whitey, you're going to play drums. Shook, you're going to be my rhythm guitar player. And Nason, I'm hiring you, and I'm going to make you play keyboards. And then you're going to be in charge of staging and everything. In other words, you're like the cat that people talk to when it comes to getting the gear set up. And you take care of all that shit.
Right.
And you play keys. And that's what it was. That's how we started it.
Okay.
Then Ray Vaughan put them in their uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
And Shook played left-handed, and he was real handsome. So I had Vaughan on this side and Shook on that side. Then Nason off to the side and Whitey into the back. And it had a look. And it had team spirit because they all wanted to play with me.
Right.
And when we did our first gig, in fact, those guys weren't even on the first gig. The first gig was Warren from the Diamonds. When I quit the Diamonds, I just hired Warren to play dates with me because they were putting the silencers together.
Okay.
And I'd pay him by the night, and I had different drummers. In fact, the drummer from the Diamonds' little brother started playing drums with me, and he got me my first gig. I played my first gig with Warren, this kid David Johns on drums, and Ray Vaughan playing bass. 4-piece. We played at Swissville High School on the last day of school. And it was 1979. It was like May. And I felt this power. I had never done it before.
Yeah.
And I just went, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I felt electricity going through my body, and I just went, oh my God, I am alive. I was 29 years old.
No shit.
And I knew I had a gift. For the first time. I knew I didn't sing all that good.
What year again was this?
1979.
79.
I was 19 years old. I didn't play all that good because I had been in the Diamonds. I was the bass player.
Right.
So I was playing lead guitar. And I was writing all the songs, and I didn't sing that good.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter. New wave, punk rock, attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I had that shit pouring out of me. And it was like my first, to this day, I can't tell you how many guys I go, dude, I saw your first gig. Because I lived in Swissville. You know what I mean? So I knew all those cats, and they were all like 10 years younger than me, 11 years younger than me.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. And we just, I played for like 8 months without the regular Tiger lineup.
Okay.
And after guys started leaving and things started changing, Warren was playing with the silencers, and I had, who Derek Edwards is? Black Cat plays drums. Mm-hmm. He was playing drums for me.
Oh, really?
And he quit to join a lounge band. I took him he played CBGBs in New York City with me.
Wow. Wait, you played CBGBs?
Yeah, hell yeah.
I know that. We didn't hit that last time.
Yeah, I played CBGBs.
No shit.
And Derek was my drummer at the time. It was just me, Derek, and Ray Vaughan, a 3-piece.
Wow.
Just crushed. I mean, but anyway, after the first 7 or 8 months, when I put the Tiger Act together, it just like my hands are so screwed up I can't even snap my fingers anymore.
There you go.
They're all arthritic. But I knew, and when you could see a picture, of that Tiger band, you know, with Ray Gunn and Paul Shook both being so handsome, and bodies, and then Ray Gunn would take. We were the first people to take T-shirts and cut them up.
Yeah, I
the first. No one ever seen that done before.
Right.
And MTV was being born, so we were on, and they were fans of ours. I went on MTV a couple of times, and
I just watched a video 2 weeks ago of you on some New York-based talk show. Joy Behar was introduced you, and its song
that was years
Dog.
later.
That was later.
That was 1986 or 87.
Mid 80s, yeah.
And I remember they cut one part of the show out. What I did was, she's supposed to be a comedian, but she wasn't. She didn't have a lightness to her, and which I overestimated her.
She seemed to like you though.
I didn't think that.
Oh, okay.
I'd have to see it again.
Okay.
But what happened is, I was watching the thing from the sidelines, you know, and hanging with the guys, and I was like, I got this. I got a feel for this. We're going to crush. And so what I did was, I put some dog biscuits in my pockets, and I was handing them out to the audience. And then when she was interviewing me, she was talking about things, and I just pulled dog biscuits out of my pocket and started eating them. And then I took a bite out of one, then I went to hand it to her. And she didn't think that was funny. She looked at me like, you're out of line.
That's great.
She looked at me like, dude, I don't know who you think you are.
That's so great.
But that shit ain't flushing here. And she gave me like a bad vibration.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think it came off that way. At least not on video. I don't think on video it came off that way.
I don't know that actual scene was on it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
When it came to...
I get it.
The one that, you know, that we all see.
Yeah.
But I remember she kind of gave me a bad vibe because I think she let me know that I was overstepping my... She was the star, and don't offer a lady a dog, but it's like calling a woman a dog.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of the impression I got that she's
a piece of work, anyways.
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of hers, but I don't hate her or nothing.
Right on.
I just
right on.
We had a chance to have some moments together, and she kind of like put me down.
Okay.
But anyway, so that Tigers thing was that lineup. And that guys, it wasn't the greatest band. It was like really like this cool thing that was just stuck together, you know. And it was guys that the best thing about it was that everybody that was in it wanted to be in it.
Right.
And they loved it.
They knew something was happening.
Yeah, because it was for the first time in their life they were getting laid at the snap of a finger. All of them. I mean, it was like we were sex symbols in the snap of a finger.
Yeah.
And
what did the record companies classify the Tigers at initially when you came out? Were you punk rock, new wave, rock, pop? What was
yes,
all of it? Because
what was hitting was all that.
Yeah.
And we were hitting in the clubs. You know, I didn't have a manager at the time. So what happened is I started hanging in New York City, and this attorney started following me around. This very cool guy, his name was Steve Mussorgsky.
Okay.
He's gone now. And he had a history. He had done some work with the Wailers. He had done some work with the Allman Brothers. Mm-hmm. He had managed Cyndi Lauper's band.
All right.
Called Blue Angel was the band she was in before she became Cyndi.
Okay.
And so he was real tight with her. And so he knew his way around the business. And he was my link to the music business. I had a couple different managers over the years. I had Stevie Ray Vaughan's manager was managing me for a while. You know, who was also the leader of the entire Southern Rock Revolution. His name was Alex Hodges.
No shit.
He was the booking agent
Like for Skinner and the Allman
All of
Brothers
them.
and Molly Hatchet and those bands.
Back to Charlie Daniels.
Wow.
So before those bands even,
Okay.
he was the agent for the Southern Rock Revolution.
Wow.
And then towards the this all through the 70s. Then towards the 80s, he started getting into management. And that's when he picked up me and Stevie Ray. And Stevie Ray and I were both on the same label. And but I wasn't in Stevie Ray's league. I wasn't doing enough things right or even close. And he was doing everything right. He was the shit. Mm-hmm. And but anyway, so I was running in those circles, and I really wasn't holding up my end on the deepest level.
Okay.
I was making shit happen. You know, the clubs, whenever we played in clubs, it was a riot everywhere we went. And it was fun, and it was rock and roll, and everybody, no one that wanted to leave at the end of the night. You know, at the end of the gig, there's people who were partying until 4 and 5 in the morning, just out in the street, in the hotel, in the truck. You know, it was just insanity followed the Tigers everywhere we went.
Right.
I remember when I first went out with the Tigers, I used to take the house rockers and offer them gigs. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we do gigs together. And I remember their road manager said to me, dude, after the gigs, we go back to the hotel. He says, and all the house rockers would stay locked down in 2 hotel rooms. And we just all look out our window across the hotel lot where you guys were and see action go. Chicks, dope dealers, rock and roll fans, freaks. Till the sun came up, would be going in and out of your rooms. And they said, we just sat over there and watched the whole thing. We were all so afraid of you guys because they weren't rock and roll people.
Right.
They wanted to pretend they were in it. Well, we're in this band, but they weren't.
They weren't living it.
They weren't living it like we were living it.
Right.
And, you know, they fancied themselves to be above us because they told themselves that they were better musicians and they were doing more important music, but they weren't even in the league.
Yeah.
It was a falsehood, and it was a phony stance they were coming from, in my mind. And not that we weren't clownish. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and we were world class on several levels, but we were not world class on some more important levels. Mm-hmm. We were a freak show. We were a phenomenon. And like I've say it all the time, nobody in music does their best work their whole career. Magic comes to musicians
In spurts?
I don't know that it's in. You work your way into something,
Okay.
and you relationship your way into something. You know, it's like Jimi Hendrix was Jimi Hendrix, but when he got those 2 English cats to play with him, and Chaz Chandler became his manager,
Right.
and he was hanging out with Clapton and
Yeah.
all those guys in England. When he left here and went over there with Chaz Chandler and did all those things,
Parts of the puzzle. Pieces of the puzzle.
yeah, and the times. Mm-hmm. The times that he was in, and that made those first couple Jimi Hendrix albums cultural linchpins, you know, like magic. And he had come to this place, arrived, and he had a couple years of it where he was magic. It happens with everyone, you know. The Beatles, they were broken up by the 70s.
Yeah. Right.
They didn't see the 70s.
Right.
You know, how long has it been since the Stones have made a great record? Mm-hmm. You know, those kinds of things, it only happens, you catch, they said that term, lightning in a bottle, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that's what, no matter who you are musically, you know, you find those, you know, like B.B. King, he had Live at the Regal was in the 50s. That record was one of the greatest records ever cut. Then he had like 7 or 8 years where he was just B.B. King.
Yeah.
And then he had put out that Live and Well album, and, you know, around the time of Woodstock Atlantic City Pop Festival, the thrill is gone.
Yep.
And he found another time.
That trill.
Right. And he found that 4 or 5 year period. You know, Clapton's done it a few times.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Where
But there's been people that have, like we talked about Stevie Ray Vaughan, reintroducing Clapton to another generation, right? I also think Stevie Ray Vaughan has made Jimi Hendrix more of a legend in the year 2020 by him redoing Hendrix music in the late 80s, mid 80s. I think that
and not just Jimi Hendrix, Albert King.
Albert King, absolutely right.
Absolutely
right.
I mean, that's
absolutely right.
The mainstay of Stevie Ray Vaughan's style is Albert King.
Yes, that's yes.
And then he added the Hendrix.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
But I mean,
yes.
My point is that music comes and it goes. It's like, Bruce Springsteen. He made a record years ago called "The River." Mm-hmm. And to me,
are you a fan of Springsteen?
Not like a lot of people are.
I'm not.
I'm totally respectful of him.
I am too.
But I want to kick his ass.
Got it.
But like the River record that he made, to me, was this place in music that him and his team arrived at, that they never didn't do it before. They never did it since. But that record was a world-class place.
Like a moment in time.
Yeah. And that's what I think a lot of people forget about music. It's like to catch that moment in time. You didn't know when it started if you're in it, and you didn't know when it ended.
And if it was even, you weren't really even sure it was really happening to the magnitude that years later proved it was.
You might not even know that it was, and which was my case. I didn't know. Got it. Recently I've been working on this Diamonds music that I rediscovered, and when I hear it, I'll put it out next year. It's so fantastic. It's so much better than everything else that was happening back then. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When I listen to it, it's this place of, like you asked me, you said, what did the record companies think of you? Were you rock and roll? Were you punk? Were you new wave?
Yeah.
Well, the Diamonds who were doing this thing musically, the way I would describe it is, it's like ZZ Top meets the Sex Pistols. It was like the soul burn of ZZ Top, but the bad effing attitude of the Sex Pistols. Yeah. And we captured this for a few years, and we were better than everybody.
Yeah.
And I mean everybody.
Right on.
And that record never came out.
Wow.
But now I found it, and I'm working on it again right now. And it will show people why when I started the Tigers, I felt like I was a badass. I had a bad attitude because I had already been in a band that was better than the best bands in the world.
Right.
I wasn't the star of it.
Right.
But I ran the music.
Got it.
And so my position of weirdness in town started in the Diamonds.
Okay. Got it.
The Diamonds were better than everybody else by far. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were a living freak show, and we stumbled into this music and this way of building music. And by the time we had stumbled into it, we were already thought of as the devil, because we were crazy people. We were doing shit we shouldn't have been doing, and everyone knew it. And we were young, and you didn't realize how you're supposed to keep that shit down low. We screwed up in a lot of ways.
In the late 70s, right?
And we were young. We were proud of it. The strong shit we were doing. To a certain extent.
Okay.
And, I mean, not to the extent where it didn't stop me from quitting. That was one of the reasons I quit, was because I knew we weren't being right.
Okay.
So anyway, I was already thought of as a bad person before the Tigers.
Okay.
And then when the Tigers came, and the Tigers became this like sex band. I don't know how else to say it. You go to any gigs, any rock band in Pittsburgh, and you'd see gorgeous women. You come to the Tiger gigs, you'd see the best looking women. And the next level. I mean, it was, the chicks loved the Tigers.
Right.
And There's something about that that's fantastic, right?
You think?
Right. But there's a backlash to it.
Well, sure.
If you would compare the chicks at a House Rockers gig to the chicks at a Tigers gig, you'd see the picture of what I'm saying.
Okay.
And when people are looking for reasons to put you down, and when we've talked about it earlier today, when you're in a position where your name keeps coming up,
right,
automatically certain people ain't going to like you.
Yeah.
Because your name's there. And so I had it, in the Diamonds for one type of bad behavior, and the Tigers for a different type of bad behavior that people alleged was going on with the Tigers. I was always not like one of the nice guys. And the image. Do you know what I mean? Uh-huh. Hey, I've been with the same woman for 45 years. Uh-huh. I'm my mother's child, my father's son.
Right.
I don't know nobody nothing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Image and perception is what people they make up their own.
No doubt.
And not that I didn't act.
Yeah. That's the lure of rock and roll, though, right?
Yeah. It's a show.
Right. It's a show.
And it's like, it's rock and roll. It's like, I'm so goddamn bad. And that's what I was selling.
Uh-huh.
I wasn't like Bruce Springsteen. I wasn't selling what he was selling. He's just selling intelligent lyrics, and...
But see, his shows to me, let's just talk about Springsteen for a second. I don't want to bash the guy, but what he does doesn't really resonate with me much. A couple songs, but nothing really. And I don't get enough. Like, I know he runs and he gives you a fist in the air and all this stuff, but it's so canned and it's so packaged and, homogenized. That stick is so unoriginal and it doesn't look natural when I see him perform. Some people love it, and he goes out there for 3 hours, does his thing.
A lot of people love it.
I know.
But
it doesn't do anything for me. It's not like...
I totally get it. And I understand exactly what you're saying.
You say that in mixed company, people look at you like you're crazy, though, because people
say it.
They love Springsteen.
I can't say it.
Well,
because of right, and I hear it, and I take it in, and one thing I'll say, two things about Springsteen that I don't think you can really knock.
Well, the E Street Band, right?
I wasn't even going to say that.
Okay.
There's two things about him that are world class. One is songwriting.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch has written great song after great song. Mm-hmm. Not all of them are great.
Right.
But he's written some fantastic pieces of music. And he's a great entertainer.
Is he?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you would be in a position to judge that.
I think he is. I do.
In what way? Like, explain. Like, what is his stick? Because I don't feel overly entertained.
I understand that because I analyze everybody and everything.
Right.
But I watch how he has the power.
Yeah, his charisma.
And he knows how to use it, and he knows how to take it to the common man.
Okay.
And he owns that.
That's his thing.
And that's what I'm saying, that he owns that, and that in itself is huge. I mean, he's that guy. Mm-hmm. And he writes great. I don't think of him as a great guitar player. But I have total respect for what he's accomplished.
Well, you have to, for sure.
But I would never try to be like him. Mm-hmm. My thing was always, he's the nice guy. He's the guy that the father wants his daughter to go out with.
There's no edge to him. I mean, some of the lyrics are, there's some risque lyrics in some of his earlier stuff. I mean, but there's the edge, and I guess maybe that's my sensibilities of what I look for in music. It's got to move my ass, but it also has to have an edge to it. I think that's why I resonated with your style of music years ago because it fit what I was searching for as a music appreciator.
There's a danger to me.
And I like that kind of music.
And there's
a
passion. There's
you have to have that too.
I get it. And I like the Stones.
I'm fucking right.
Do you know what I mean?
Fucking
That's
right.
To me.
I like early Who. Daltrey was dangerous to me.
I like
that
the
was a
first
dangerous
Who
band.
album.
Yeah, they were dangerous to me.
The first Who album with My Generation and with
In mono.
Yeah,
It's in mono.
That album when they were imitating James Brown, they were
Right.
doing their bastardized version of James Brown,
Right.
and it was huge.
Mm-hmm.
It was huge. I mean, that's The Animals. To me, was one of the greatest rock bands of all time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Springsteen's a little bit long-winded as a writer, and long-winded as a performer, and long-winded as a show, but he's really good at what he does. And
you can't deny that. I mean, I get it.
And he found his audience, and he developed it, and he don't shortchange him.
gives
and
a
for those-
long show.
Do you know what I mean? And
But you're like that.
And
you build your career that way too.
no question. No question. And that's why I respect what he does. I mean,
Yeah.
I have total respect for
He
him.
doesn't mail it in
Ever. No, he gives what he got, and he sells what he sells. You know, I respect him. I ain't dying to go out and see him do gigs. I don't buy his records.
Yeah.
When I first moved, me and Warren used to have an apartment back in the 70s. And when we moved in the apartment, he bought 3 records. I forget what. I think one of them was by the band Montrose.
Yeah, Ronnie Montrose, yeah.
Good guitar player.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I think Sammy Hagar was the singer.
Fucking
And
right.
Yep. And then he bought Sammy Hagar. He bought Bruce Springsteen's first album,
Okay.
and he bought the Naughty Dread album by Bob Marley.
Ah, okay.
We listened to those 3 records. And after we were done listening to those 3 records, Warren proclaimed, he said, "Listen, in this place here, this is the only record we play." And it was the Bob Marley record. He says, "Fuck all this other shit." He says, "That's all bullshit." He says, "This is what we play here.
That is so good.
This is the Reggae Palace."
That is so good.
And that's what we lived there for a couple. In fact, my old lady moved in there with me when I was living with Warren. And but that's what it was. You know, it was. Yeah, Bruce Springsteen. That album was great.
Yeah.
You know, and there was things about it that. But there's a bit of pretentiousness to what he does.
Okay, so let me see if I'm on the same wavelength as you. So what I used to get pretty knocked off at was, as a young person growing up in the 70s, I liked some of the theater rock, Rush and Kiss, and the older generation would come to me, your generation would critique that and say, "Oh, it's all garbage and canned, and there's marketing, and it's this and it's that. You got to listen to Springsteen." And I'm like, look, when they take a picture of Springsteen's ass and a handkerchief out of his back pocket, and he's Mr. All-American with his cigarettes rolled up here, that's an image too. I mean, it's just a different image. Don't think
you're
for a
right.
second
No,
Springsteen wasn't marketed. That Born in the USA All-American Man stuff from the 80s, that was an image, right? I mean,
I agree
somebody
totally.
put that together, marketed it, and presented it.
And acted it out.
Right.
And acted
So
it
the
out.
one's no better than the other. It's just different, right?
I agree. I mean, I think the thing that Bruce Springsteen was selling all along was songs, you know, and he was
Right.
better than almost everybody at writing songs.
I'll give him that.
And still is.
I'll give him that.
And
But you gotta, if you don't
but
like
when
them,
he put out the Born in the USA album, you want to talk about marketing in a package.
No
you know,
question.
He never looked back from that record.
right.
And when that record came out to me, it was like, well, I just totally lost interest in what he's doing. Because the record before that, the River record, to me,
right.
was
Real authentic.
musicality.
Right.
And using that band, the dynamics of that band, you know. I kind of think what happened with Bruce Springsteen is that drummer, I think they tortured that drummer and beat him into making him sound like they became obsessed with the drums should sound like a drum machine. And they beat that drummer into doing that. To not a good end.
Well, he ended up. Didn't Bruce? I saw Springsteen in '92 or '93 at the Civic Arena, and the E Street Band was not with him. They had fired. He had fired the E Street Band at that time. He went on the road with a lot of synthesizers.
Studio cats. Yeah, a couple cats from L.A.
And it was a polished, glossy show, but it wasn't the E Street Band. It was different.
Right. It was. I believe that was a mistake he made. And I don't look down at him for making that mistake.
Yeah.
I totally understand.
Part of the tapestry of his career, right?
And one thing that I know that happens that we haven't touched on, when you put a band together,
Can't last forever.
It can't last forever. And you take these guys and you turn them into stars.
Personalities come out.
It's not odd for them guys to turn on you, the one who made them, and start talking to you.
Right.
Like, now I'm a made man. Well, yeah, well, who made you? You know, so I get that. So, and I don't know that that's the case, what happened, but I can understand
how it happened.
The circumstance of him saying, hey, you know what? I want to just play with some different cats.
Yeah, I get it.
Because I made these guys into something, and now they're hard for me to handle.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
He also could have been proving a point to them. They all might have got too big for their britches and were giving him grief. And he's like, I can show you that I don't need you.
That's what I'm saying. And I don't know that that's true.
Yeah. It could be, though.
It's likely that it's true.
Uh-huh.
It's likely, from my experiences, it's likely that it's true. You know, because before the E Street Band, those guys were just bar band musicians.
Right.
Now they had 20 years of doing big shows and giant applause, encores, and money, and per diem, and percentages,
lifestyle,
and the biggest drug of all,
fame,
puss.
Oh, okay, yeah,
puss. You want to change a guy's attitude? You know, a guy in a band changes, you know, for the worse or for the better. You look at the end of it.
Yeah, I get it.
Puss is the biggest thing that'll change a man.
Yeah, wasn't that it's the reason that supposedly men do everything that's why you work so hard to get the money, money to get the girls. You know, fame is the description of having the girls.
Yeah, and that's normal, and that's humanity. Yeah. So when I say these things like that, I don't know the Springsteen guys that well. I mean, I know a few of them, but I never really followed them that much. I'm not a like some other guys. Yeah. You know, they want to be like him and all that. It's like,
yes,
I respect him. I think he's I think he writes a great song. You know, and I heard a song this past year that he had written that I didn't know he had written, but I heard it first by someone else. And the song was called If I Should Fall Behind, and it was done by Paul Carrick, who I love. Mm-hmm. And I heard it, and I said, Jesus Christ, is that killer? You know, and I listened to the song over and over and over again because I'm obsessive and compulsive. And then I found out that it was written by Bruce Springsteen. And I went and listened to Bruce Springsteen's version of it. And Bruce's version of it was good.
Yeah.
I mean, real good. Yeah. But it wasn't Paul Carrick's version of it. Paul Carrick took that piece of music, and he's a high-level singer.
Yeah.
And he's also very soulful in his arrangements and his sensibilities. And it was like, well, yeah. You know, it made perfect sense to me. You know, they took a great Bruce Springsteen song and made it better and gave it the treatment that he didn't.
Right.
He did it well.
Right.
But Paul Carrick added all the colors of the rainbow, added all the dimension.
Got it.
And that's, you know, like Here Comes the Night, that Patti Smith song. Who wrote it? Bruce Springsteen. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, she's not that great of an artist. Mm-hmm. But on that record...
Yeah. There was something special going on in that one.
That was her.
Yeah.
That's another example of what we were talking about, is an artist working their way into some moments of greatness.
Like Boz Scaggs, I think about. Fits that, you know.
No question. He had those moments, that Silk Torpedoes. He built towards that. And then he did that and never really.
Right. Yeah.
And you don't look down at him for that, or it's like, hey, you screwed up. It's normal.
It's like a moment in time, though. It's really good,
You like Jackson Browne, another. He captured some moments in time, and
Steely Dan. I think Steely Dan did that too.
all of them.
Yeah.
Nobody, does it the whole time.
Yeah.
Nobody has greatness the whole way through.
Now, is that symptomatic of the group of people, the collection, and what's going on there, or is it also symptomatic of the changing tides of taste and public taste and things?
It's everything. It's just life goes by. You know what I mean?
And things change.
Which makes it so precious.
Yes, agreed.
Just like life is, it's those, like when I think of the Diamonds, and the things that we did that were screwed up, and the arguments and the angers that we had against one another, I don't dwell on them. I dwell on the music that we made that was great. Like with the Tigers.
Right.
I don't dwell in the mistakes I made, which the biggest mistakes that the Tigers made were made by me. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying, like I say, well, I didn't have the greatest musicians. Those guys aren't the guys that prevented us from doing better business-wise.
I understand.
It was me.
Yeah. But you take ownership in that.
I have to.
Yeah.
But I think of how much fun and how great those moments were with the Tigers, And then when the Tigers were gone, I played with me, Whitey Cooper, and Harry Bottoms for 25 years.
Right.
The three of us, we just went out and gigged constantly and had so much goddamn fun. And now I'm in this new phase. Life comes in stages.
Mm-hmm. No question. No question.
Right? I mean, you look at your life.
Mm-hmm.
Marriages, children, work.
Your careers.
What you're
hobbies,
doing.
Hobbies.
What are you doing
passions.
with your... Yeah. And it comes in stages. And the best thing you can do is love it all. Mm-hmm. And even even when it gets bad, you don't let that ruin your taste for it. It's okay. Maybe that time's over, but that doesn't mean that time wasn't magic. It wasn't great.
Right.
That's. I look at Billy Price. He had that band. In the '90s, they called it the Keystone Rhythm Band.
Mm-hmm.
That band was high level.
Yep.
And Billy Price at that time was operating on all cylinders. He had it all. And they were doing the best work they could do as a team, and him included. And then he broke that band up. He left it. But that doesn't mean that what they did, that
right. It didn't invalidate what they had done. Right.
And that's what my point is. Those times of greatness, they come. When Billy Price came to Pittsburgh, he came with the Rhythm Kings. Yeah. From Penn State.
Yeah.
And they had about 5 or 6 years where they ruled this city.
Right.
And they personally taught the city that black people and white people ain't all that different.
Right. Right.
They were the ones that started bringing black people to the clubs.
Got it.
And white people, you see white people and black people dancing together and partying together.
It's a beautiful thing.
It was like as natural as can be. It was a cultural wash, and it happened through the music. And so I saw Billy in that light. Mm-hmm. I talk about those times of magic. That was a time of magic. Yeah. And then again in the 90s when he had the Keystone Rhythm Band, that was a time of magic.
Yeah.
How great that is, that he did it a couple times. I've done it a couple times. Mm-hmm. I hope to do it again. Uh-huh. But when you get there, you worked your way there, and now you're just functioning, and it's easy.
Right.
Because you earned it.
Right. But it's a good way of looking at it. And that's applicable in different areas of life. I mean, yeah. I was just saying this. I was just talking to a client the other day on real estate, and they said, you just it seems so natural and easy to you. And I said, because it is. I mean, once you once you do something for a while and you build your craft, it isn't that it's easy. It's you're enjoying it because it's natural now. It's just natural.
And that's part of the beauty of being a man.
But you have to I think also, though, Norman, I don't think people take time to sit back and breathe and recognize how beautiful it is because you're always on to the next thing. You know, it's kind of, you have to smell the roses a little bit there.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's the gift. You know, that's what makes joyous. You know, it makes you be able to, Thanksgiving. What are you thankful for?
Right.
I'm just thankful for the turkey. I'm thankful for the work that I did to put the turkey on the table, and I'm thankful for the people that, like in the Tigers, I'm thankful for those guys that played in the band.
Right.
That gave me their faith and that took the shit money I paid them because I couldn't have done it without paying them shit money. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't there. That was all that was there.
Right.
And they're like, hey, you're the boss. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
And then we did that and did it to death. And then we changed and times changed.
Right.
And it couldn't last forever.
Right.
And the same thing with the Diamonds. It was like when we first started the Diamonds, we did good music. We were cool. But we hadn't come into magic. And we worked and worked and worked and stumbled into magic.
Okay.
And then we stumbled out of it. And when I listen to the music today, like I say, I'm working on the music now, and I had just had it transferred to digital from 2-inch tape. And my engineer lives in Nashville, and he come up and we're working on it, and he's going like, dude, he says, tell me about this again. And I says, well, this is what I was doing, And he's like, I said, when I was in my 20s, he said, are you serious? I says, yeah, I'm the bass player on this. He says, I can't believe this shit. He said, it's like Aerosmith, only better. It's like ZZ Top, only punk rock. He was like, I never heard anything like this. I says, well, dude, this is all we did. We went out and sold it and pretty much blew everybody off the stage we played with.
So is there any plans to, besides release that, do you want to play that music again?
I don't think so. I don't think.
It's not you anymore? It's not in you anymore?
I'm into new things. I have a new way of making music.
Okay.
I want to take this and stand on that mountain, but I don't want to go backwards.
Try to recreate that.
Yeah, I want to move in this. I have all this new music that I'm at an amazing place right now. And these I have the two of the Diamonds album. One's live and one studio, and I also have two Norman albums. I have a great studio record of Norman stuff, and it's kind of bluesy.
All right.
And it that's the side of what I do that I'm featuring on this at this time. And I also have this other Norman record that was cut the night I was blackballed by the Evil Empire. It was the night I opened for the House Rockers with Bruce Springsteen at Fat City.
Okay.
I did it for 2 nights in a row. And crushed. And I'm making an album out of that.
Okay.
And it's kind of rough because it was just cut, it wasn't cut multi-track. So in other words, it isn't a perfect album. It's going to be, both that and the Diamond Reo live record will be what I'll call official bootlegs.
Got it.
Because they're not cut multi-track where I can do a lot to them.
Right.
But they have the spirit. And I have tons of official,
the energy,
and the moment, and so those and the thing with the Norman album from '95 is the story. I can tell the story of being blackballed and why I was blackballed, and through this record, and I can say, here's this. I can close the chapter on that part of my life. People want to talk about that, and and I've talked about it, and I'm good. And now I want to say, well, here's what I was doing. Here's the show. And here's the speech I did that got me blackballed. And the speech was, I tip my hat to Joe and Bruce, but now it's time to turn the monkey loose. If you like what you hear, it's time to realize. Tell Pittsburgh radio to open their eyes. because I was here when it started, and I'll die on this stage. Pittsburgh rock and roll, I wrote my own page. So pick up your phones and tell the powers that be, don't be afraid of a man like me. Because do what you will to keep me down, even tonight, pound for pound, round for round, I'm the baddest man in this town. And I got blackballed for saying that speech.
That doesn't make any sense though. It's so stupid. That was what in those words could possibly get you blackballed? That's just so stupid to do that. That they would do that. It doesn't make any sense.
Because here in this town, the fact that I had the balls to say that I was the baddest man in this town, the same night Bruce Springsteen was here.
It's confidence, right?
It's a show.
I mean, shit. I mean,
it's
what possibly could be wrong with that?
If you hear the people screaming while I'm doing it, it's even harder to understand how I could got in trouble for doing it, because they were cheering me.
Yeah.
And if you hear the concert,
I get it.
It was like I was crushing the whole show. And all my friends that saw it said, dude, you blew them off the stage. They weren't prepared to kick your ass. The show was over when you left.
Right.
But the Evil Empire and the band that Bruce was playing with, and Bruce himself, they couldn't say that. They couldn't say that they got their ass kicked by some old barroom musician in Pittsburgh. That's some old club fighter. It's like Rocky. It's like Apollo Creed got his ass kicked by Rocky. They can't admit that. They can't admit that there was some guy that was playing gigs for $300 a night, blew them off the.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like that. You have to have confidence. Why would anybody, as in the audience, want anything less of you than what you gave?
It wasn't the audience that didn't buy into it. It was the corporate types that went, who does he think he is? We bring Bruce Springsteen here. We put him with this guy who he loves and who he thinks is a great songwriter, and he's pumping up, and he goes on stage and acts like that. He should have has his head done, and that's how they thought.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't have my head done. I want to kick Bruce's ass. Bruce should come and want to meet me. That's how I saw it.
Okay.
And that's how I still see it.
Right.
Because everybody knows, he's been getting his ass kissed since he was in his 20s.
Right.
I've been getting my ass kicked since I was in my 20s.
Right.
And the fact that I am, and the fact that I've progressed and worked and accomplished all the way through while everything was being taken from me,
right,
is the story.
Right.
What kind of story is it? Hey, this guy, he's selling out every arena in the country, and he went in and made a record, and it's a pretty good record. Where's the story?
Yeah.
He had the money to pay for it. What about the guy that did all that and was, playing gigs for $250 and was doing shit he shouldn't have been doing to make money, to be able to make records in between gigs, guys coming and going? That's the story.
Right.
That's the movie. That's America. That's what it is. It's the underdog. It's Rocky.
Right.
I mean, who didn't like the movie Rocky?
But Springsteen would be able to understand that, because he had to start somewhere, and things just. I mean, like
he saw it in Shekel. He picked Shekel out to be that, but the problem was Shekel really never was that.
Got it.
He was always, his music was always. Shekel wasn't a self-made man. Shekel was made by record companies and business angles and corporate situations. But as far as going out, gig after gig, night after night, club fighting, he never did it. His whole thing was done in the press. One of the greatest bands of all time, the House Rockers.
Yeah.
I mean, the House Rockers couldn't play a gig in the South Hills. They played at the Decade, sure. They did great, but you couldn't take them out of that club.
Yeah,
they didn't play anywhere near the gigs that I played with the Tigers, and neither did the Silencers. You put at both of those bands up, all the gigs they did, it wouldn't come to one half of what we did with the Tigers. Wouldn't come to one half, but it was never portrayed that way.
Got it.
And that's part of my story is that the whole time.
Understood.
I've been swimming upstream, fighting, and not bitching about it, and not, calling that out. I don't say that often, that's the truth. In fact, I don't know if this might be the first time I've ever said that in public, is that the truth is we did way more gigs than them because we worked constantly.
Right.
We didn't have day jobs.
Right.
I kept my guys working, and they lived on shit money because they wanted to.
Yeah.
They wanted it. They wanted to be tigers.
Right.
They were sex symbols.
Right.
They were getting laid, on a snap of a finger. And to a young guy,
yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt.
Nothing means more than anything than getting a little. That's what's up. That's getting paid.
Yeah. In lieu of money.
And that's rock and roll.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's
right.
And that's the tree I fell off of, and living that life and that style, which makes me a little bit weird, especially in this town. This town is provincial, and it's
understood.
It takes a guy like me. They look at me, and the corporate types,
mm-hmm.
and like, why does he act like that? Who does he think he is? Instead of saying, ain't he something? Mm-hmm. He's beautiful. He don't even know. He just does. You know what I mean? He's like a storm that just blows in, and he can't even control it.
Well, if you get the wrong company at that moment in time that has any kind of insecurity with the folks running that company, they're afraid. They're afraid of originality. They're afraid of someone with confidence. They're afraid of someone who's not going to take any shit. And that's prevalent, I think, in a lot of areas of corporate America. Maybe not everywhere, but at that moment in time in your lifetime, that's probably what the fuck happened.
Yeah, and still, and still is happening.
Even more so now, probably, because now they're owned by iHeart or Radio.com or whoever the fuck owns.
And
it's all corporate music anymore, anyways.
Yeah, and the trickle down from that, I don't figure into it because I don't earn the mention. Mm-hmm. So who I am and how I am is only on what I can muster on my own. They don't put me on shows, I mean, not that there has been shows in the past year, but I mean, all this time up until that, I was not factored in on them shows anymore. Mm-hmm. I wasn't allowed to play on the big shows. My music didn't get reviewed. It never got played. And it never stopped me.
It's just, no, of course not.
And that's what makes it beautiful.
And the more you continue to do your thing, the more animosity on their end, because you keep throwing it in their face that you're not capitulating,
and that
you're the kind of person that'll never capitulate.
I'm still here,
mm-hmm.
and the story now in my life is the product in a way, for me. My story gets there before I do. It's like, here's this guy. He's a freak. He's like Frank Sinatra. He did it his way.
Right.
He didn't do it to the success Frank Sinatra had.
But style,
it might be,
how it was done.
But it might be even more impressive because he did it without the success. Mm-hmm. And that's the trick. That's what I stand on now. It's like, if I'm doing a show, and I will be again, because it's all I'm preparing constantly for when I can go back to work.
We're going to get there very soon.
I feel it. I mean, I feel
20,
like...
And by mid 21, I think it will be. Between the vaccine, and it just takes, we talked off air. Pandemics historically, 18 to 20 months to work through society. Now we have medicine and things.
It's a new time. And we have great doctors. When we have...
No doubt.
Genius people. And
science.
Yeah, it's real, and so I stopped gigging.
And I can't wait. I can't fucking wait.
I can't wait either. I stopped Luckily, I get along with my old lady, and we tell each other that. I look at her and I say, "Hey, Toots, you know how lucky we are that we don't hate each other because we're, she's not going out at all.
Yeah.
And I rarely go out,
Right.
except to do my little show and
Right.
and come. I mean, it's very rare that I'm doing anything.
very
I'm
glad
just
you're here. I
staying
wasn't
home
sure.
and studying. And I look and I say, Toots, I says, how lucky. You know, we watched the Waltons and Little House on the Prairie together, and that's our little life. But she knows that soon I'll be back to work,
Of course.
and
That's what you do.
that's what I was doing when I met her.
Uh-huh.
I was so goddamn pretty, Eric. Jesus Christ. I tell her all the time. That's when I say, I know when you see me, you says, look at that hunk of meat. Look at that little sausage, little dago. I'll have a blue Christmas without you. Be so blue thinking about you. Decorations of red on a green Christmas tree won't be the same. You're not here with me, that's when those blue snowflakes start falling, and those blue memories start calling. You'll be doing alright with your Christmas of white, but I'll have a blue Christmas. You'll be doing alright with your Christmas of white, but I'll have a blue Christmas. Little Elvi. Joints jumping, pimps and hoes, but there's something missing till you show. It ain't a party till you get here. When you arrive, everybody get turned up. The joint come alive. You make my blue disappear. It ain't a party till you get here. Lights are low, bands playing, dressed to kill, people swaying. It ain't a party till you get here. When you arrive, everybody get turned up. The joint come alive. You make my blue disappear. It ain't a party till you get here. It ain't a party till you get here. How you doing? Spilling out into the parking lot. Inside the joint, it's too damn hot. It ain't a party till you get here. When you arrive, everybody get turned up. The joint come alive. You make my blue disappear. It ain't a party till you get here. I hope I've made myself perfectly clear. It ain't a party till you get here. When you get here, how you doing? It ain't a party till you get here. One thing I like talking about is, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
I'm a Steeler fan.
I see the shirt. That's vintage you're wearing there.
Yeah, it is. It's killer, right?
That's vintage Steeler stuff. That's good stuff right there.
I was watching the Steelers in the 1950s.
It's pretty hard to watch them back then. They weren't real good, were they?
But it wasn't hard to watch because it was the way that I could be with my father. It's like I always say this. It's like when I was 6 or 7 years old, if I couldn't talk intelligent football, my father really didn't have a lot to say to me. If I couldn't sit there and talk about running plays and passing plays and middle linebackers and
right.
how it worked and the mentality behind it all and the cool guys. I remember when they would smoke cigarettes on the sidelines. I remember it.
Yeah.
I remember when they used to drink whiskey in little
dull the
cups.
pain, huh?
They would drink whiskey and smoke cigarettes on the sidelines. I mean, that's real. It's not.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's fantastic.
It's changed so much, huh?
Oh, money ruins everything.
Yeah.
Not that I don't enjoy today's game, because I do.
Yeah.
But I mean,
it's homogenized now, and
it's a lot like rock and roll in a way.
Sterile and sanitized,
and money ruins everything.
Mm-hmm.
When those guys weren't playing for money, they were playing to play.
Right.
And that's just, same with music. It's like bands. It's weird. I've been talking to somebody about it recently. A lot of big bands, successful bands, what happens to them is they become tribute bands of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the money keeps coming in, and that's how
I think of Kiss right now doing it. They're in their practically your age. The guys in Kiss are your age, and they're out there just playing the hits, and they've been playing the hits for like the past 25 years.
Right.
The money's rolling in,
but it ain't even the original guys.
No, they're just playing the hits,
and they're a tribute band
to themselves.
And I didn't. That's just something I noticed in the past few years of bands being, and not saying it's the end of the line or it's a terrible thing, but it is a thing.
Yeah,
like the Eagles.
Is that where dinosaur rock is headed now? Though I mean,
Yeah, it's a way to keep the glory alive, and the good thing, it's a way to keep the songs alive, especially with a band like the Eagles.
True.
Some of them songs
unbelievable.
You know what I mean? Desperado.
Mm-hmm.
That song is going to be a great song in 200 years.
Well, that Greatest Hits Volume 1 is the blue cover. That every song on there is, and it's sold how many millions and millions and millions of copies. They're
a tribute band to the Eagles.
Who's even alive left in that band?
Don Henley, but he hardly plays drums anymore.
Right.
And to his, I just recently saw something of those guys playing, and to his credit, he didn't play drums a lot, and he didn't even sing lead a lot.
Really?
Yeah, he was hosting the tribute band in a way.
Got it.
He sang his three songs, but it was really what he was doing in a total position of leadership.
Yeah, that's humbling for him because he was the
chief crazy ass.
Yeah, the main motherfucker in charge.
Yeah, and fighting with everyone else to make it great and to when I think of the Eagles, I think those records they made all those records before it was easy to record that way. Once technology came, they did that shit with cocaine. They did that compulsive. Every note is exactly right, and everything is exactly in tune, and everything is exactly in time. They did that shit with powder, not with a computer. And that tells you how crazy they were and how hard they worked.
Right.
And how much they wanted to make Eagles music what it was.
Right.
So they accomplished so much in a time when it was not easy to do. Mm-hmm. And I got a total respect for that,
Yeah.
I know how they did it. I know how they did it.
Yeah, the one that cracked
one line at a time.
That Joe Walsh, man. I know he joined a little later, but that Joe Walsh, that guitar sound is so much. His electric guitar sound is so much a part of that band to me.
It became that.
Yeah.
And you know what else? And what else is great about that is they became like him, and he became like them. Because the sloppiness with which he plays, and the sloppiness with he sings, and the way he acts.
But it's good, though.
No question.
Yeah,
it's great.
Good,
But he used their cleanliness and their exactness, and he's such a good musician that he forced himself to upgrade his on time, in time, in tune status, so that he could play with them. And it was great for him, and it was great for them. Yeah. I really a fan of Joe's.
But I will say I was talking with Chris Winter. She was on the show. And she was talking about Pittsburgh rock in terms of like shows, and I said to her there was a show with Joe Walsh back in '89, and she goes, "Oh yeah, Syria Mosque Basement." She goes, "My husband ran into him a couple of weeks later at some other city, and my husband brought up that show." And Joe Walsh goes, "Pittsburgh? Oh yeah, I'm really sorry about that." He admitted it was so bad. He was out of it. I don't know if he's drunk or whatever, but he wasn't at it. And Joe Walsh is naturally a sloppy player, anyways, in a good way. But he's naturally
in a great way.
He's kind of like
he's a real rock and roll guy.
Yeah, like Keith Richards is always behind the beat a little bit.
Yeah,
Ronnie Woods plays a lot of bum notes. I mean, it's part of what they do, right?
It's the humanity of the moment that these are guys that play in the moment.
Right.
They put them, they work and they develop their skills, and then they get in the moment. And then they're out gigging, and it ain't going to be perfect with guys like that. And that's not a negative.
Right.
And right. What could be a negative would be the Eagles being exactly in perfect in tune and everything they did and compulsively insane.
Yeah.
They somehow, because the songwriting was so good and the support that they had got those songs to the people, they turned it into this great thing. Mm-hmm. But their exactness isn't, to me, what I'm looking for. I'm more in the Ronnie Wood, Keith Richards, Joe Walsh. Hey, what do you got in your pants at the moment?
Yeah.
That to me is what, Junior Walker when he's blowing sax, those things are like where the magic is, Sly and the Family Stones.
Yeah.
Those bands, they performed it, they would do these shows and guys would be all effed up and drunk and powdered out and shit. But that was the humanity. Once again, you're talking these high level talents,
right,
bringing it on in the whatever time of day and whatever condition they're in. That's the allure. That's the excitement of. That's where it is when it ain't there.
Yeah.
When there's no danger there.
Yeah.
That's not for me. It's for somebody else.
I think like some of the early Allman Brothers live recordings too. Like they were just when Dwayne and those guys, they were all wasted. But some of the music that came out that was laid down on some of those live events are unbelievable.
American history.
Unbelievable.
And plus, the great thing was that they were young enough to handle being loaded.
What they were doing,
before the drugs had taken their toll.
Yeah.
And those recordings are just lessons in what it is when it's right. When it's magic. They harnessed magic. The Allman Brothers really were a phenomenon. Mm-hmm. That needed to be respected and have been. Did
you like Skynyrd?
I do.
Yeah.
And I think Skynyrd harnessed another kind of greatness.
A little heavier.
But very song-orientated.
So good.
Very, great songs. Mm-hmm. The way they took country words and country mentality and mixed it with rock and blues. Music, the best music is the molding together of styles and cultures and
right.
And Skynyrd, the brothers did it in one way.
Right.
And Skynyrd did it in a different way. But both of those acts molded their influence into new things.
Right.
It's like they created this new drug. Like if you take this drug and now you get this new thing, and that's what they did. And so both of those bands to me are very important, And
the 70s seem to have that. If you look at it in decades, the 70s seem to have those really landmark bands that created their own kind of like almost style or even genre. Like how do you pigeonhole Fleetwood Mac? Like, what was Fleetwood Mac? Was it a rock band? Was it a pop band? You can't. They had their own thing.
Started off as a blues band.
Right. With
Peter Green.
Yeah.
Started off as a blues band.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, but that's their own music. There isn't like Fleetwood Mac is Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, and earned it. And they earned that. The business buoyed them up, but they delivered on their end.
Yeah.
Just like the Southern rock bands, the business was there to prop them up.
Right.
But with that, give me 3 steps. And every guy that got drunk in a bar that was hitting on a girl who happened to be married that they didn't know, or you know what I mean? Or her boyfriend was a half of a monster. Every guy heard that song in their head. That was me, man. And all those. Like the Allman Brothers songs,
right.
Like the simple song "Midnight Rider."
Yeah.
Every guy that left his old lady or left town or got fired from his job and his life fell apart. Now I'm the Midnight Rider. You know what I mean? That was like those lyrically and musically. Those bands were.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it, but the fact that those guys were all trash as people.
Yeah.
And not in a negative way. When I say trash, I mean they weren't born.
Right.
They weren't going to college.
Right.
Their parents weren't critiquing their work at school when introduced
like a collection of bums that just got together they could play their guitars, and there was just magic there.
They were out of desperation and out of need. They weren't chosen American children that were bound for college and that were going to have a great life because their parents were going to see to it.
Right.
These were the children of people, very working class, that were just lucky to put a roof over their heads.
I think about Fogerty and Creedence Clearwater, same thing, right?
Great band.
Yeah, I mean,
Fogerty himself was a fountain of high-level music. I mean, the band was inconsequential when it came to working with him.
Yeah.
He was the fountain.
Yeah.
It flowed out of him. He was really brilliant.
I think of Elton John. It really kind of how did they pigeonhole him in this? Was he rock and roll? Was he a pop vocalist? He put a country western album out. It wasn't very good, but he put one out like in the early 70s, right? I mean,
I don't
know, what is Elton?
You know what he is?
Uh-huh.
He's Liberace.
Rock and roll's version of Liberace.
He's Liberace.
Yeah. Good point.
He was, gay as a hoot, and no one was mad at him for it.
No one cared.
No one cared. My parents,
when
they would watch him and they'd smile and they just think he was this coolest thing in the world.
I know, right.
But they didn't understand gayness. They didn't have an acceptance of it. I mean, they didn't hate it.
Right.
But it wasn't anything that came up.
Yeah, but his talent transcended whatever he was, in
a huge way.
Yeah.
He was easy to love. He was an entertainer.
Easy to love.
And he had songs.
Right.
And he played his ass off.
Yeah.
Elton John played the shit out of piano.
Yeah, he toured a lot, too, in the beginning, didn't he?
Constantly. He played with a 3-piece. Bass player and a drummer.
Yeah. Who was his guitar player? Mick Ronson?
No, that was Bowie's guitar player. I did a show with Mick Ronson.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's a Syria Mosque.
No shit.
He was in a band. He had a band called the Hunter Ronson Band.
Okay.
Him and Ian Hunter. And I was in the Diamonds. We opened a show for them at the Syria Mosque.
Wow.
This was like 1975. I was real green. But it was a huge opportunity to feel it and see it. And, Ronson was great. Really
You're the Les Paul guy, right?
Through Marshall.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the sound,
Yeah.
He ended up working with the House Rockers. They brought him in to do on one of the second House Rocker album. He produced half of it.
Didn't know that.
Him and Ian Hunter. And then the other half was produced by Little Steven.
Huh.
and that was a great record. It was called "Have a Good Time but Get Out Alive," but it was produced by Little Steven, half of it, and then they brought in Hunter Ronson to do.
Wow.
You know, that was in my mind, the last good record they made.
Yeah.
You know, because after that, whatchamacallit just started taking it over and trying to having it be all about him.
Right.
But yeah, that was a really good record.
I sold a guitar to Mick Ralphs.
You remember Mick Ralphs?
Yeah, I sold a guitar to him when I first got into the guitar business. One of my first customers he called me from England. So in the late 90s, I'm getting this phone call, and I'm like, please hold for Mick Ralphs. And I'm like, what? Sound like a British butler. And he gets on the phone and starts talking to me with the accent, you know.
Was he
it's just like 98, so he was still talking to Paul Rogers. I don't know if they were still technically Bad Company. I don't know.
Right.
But I was like, wow, that's just something. I sold him a Les Paul that I had, and it was just a cool story, you know.
He died young too, didn't he?
He died. I think not long after that. I think.
Yeah, he went young.
Yeah, not.
But
long
they did
after
some
that.
nice work together.
Bad Company was a good band that was but unfortunately, I think was in the shadow of their management company, which was Led Zeppelin. You know, Swan Song Records, because it didn't Plant and Page kind of find Paul Rogers, and I know they were on that record, and I just think that they were playing second fiddle to Zeppelin. But Bad Company was a great band.
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, didn't he come from Free? Who was the singer in Free?
Paul Rogers.
Yeah, that's so. Yeah,
Free was now.
I love that. Yeah.
To me, that was, and to the Diamonds, you know, what we were doing, like those were the kind of bands that we saw as significant, you know. So a lot of the other band, you know, a lot of the happy ass bands and stuff.
Yeah.
We didn't relate to. We related to the soulful, dark air about like a Free, you know. That was, and the Stones, you know, those kinds of things. Humble Pie.
You
know,
Steve
those
Marriott.
bands.
Steve Marriott.
Badass.
I know, man. What tragedy there.
Badass. I seen him one time on the street in New York City.
No shit.
Mm-hmm. Marriott. He was wearing bib overalls.
Wow.
And he had put on a lot of weight, and he was real short. You know, he was much shorter than me. He was really tiny, and he had put on all this weight, and he's wearing bib overalls.
He really looked kind of strange, I would imagine. That was a strange.
You know, he was a child star. I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know that. I did not know that.
He was a Shakespearean actor.
No shit. Okay.
So when he was 6 and 7 years old, he was on the big stage. Right.
Huh.
He was a magic person.
Yeah. Didn't
totally effed up person.
Yeah. Frampton played with him before Frampton hit it. He was with what was the band?
Humble Pie.
Humble Pie, that's right. Paul Stanley once described Steve Marriott that he got a lot from him because he would take people to rock and roll church. He was a preacher up there, like he was preaching their freaking the book of rock and roll. You know?
That's why he could do that, because he was a Shakespearean actor. He was a child star.
Got it.
He was on stage when he was a little boy.
He was a performer
and being cheered on by the Queen, and do you know what I mean? Like,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
He was. I don't think he made it past the age of 30.
Yeah.
He was screwed up cat.
I think Marriott died in a house fire.
Right.
Was it the late 90s?
No, it was
earlier
90.
than that? Okay.
I mean, it was young. He was young when he died.
Okay.
And probably the reason he was in the fire was because he was always... I shouldn't even talk about it. I won't because I got respect for him, and I think he's fantastic. But I was on the road with a lot of bands, you know, the bands he was out with at the time, because his career had dropped, and he was playing the shitholes that I was playing.
Yeah.
And he met a lot of people that I knew, and their stories there, but they're not worth telling, because what the story that needs told is when he sang, everybody listened.
Yeah.
And he was fantastic. He really was. I have total respect for him.
Was there? Let me ask you this: when you were with Diamond Reo and you started the Tigers, and you're opening for some of these bigger acts, were there any Were there any real disappointments, like major acts that you expected to be way more impressive that really kind of weren't live?
Nugent.
So Ted was bad live?
I thought.
Okay. In what way? Just sound production quality?
I thought he was a phony in every way.
No shit.
As a guitar player and as a singer. You know, he doesn't sing.
Well, he wasn't really the singer for a while. He had the other guy singing for a while.
And that's when I was with him.
Yeah.
And
what was his name?
Derek St. Holmes.
Derek St. Holmes, that's right.
And Derek wanted to start a band with me.
He had a good voice.
Killer voice.
Yeah.
And he wrote that shit. And
Hey, baby.
Ted hired him. Right. Ted hired him and then like treated him like shit.
Yeah.
But featured his voice and his guitar playing and his songs. In other words, he used Derek to get back in the business after the old days.
Right.
After that, whatever his band was, you know, the cover band. Or not cover band, but that band he had in the 60s. But Derek hated him. And he was like, this guy, he hires me, he says, using all my shit. And he, you know, treats me like I'm the fucking road crew. And he's like, I can't stand playing with him. He says, I want to take you, your singer, Frank Zuri, and this drummer, Brian, who was on the road with Ted.
Okay.
And he says, I want to start that band. He says, would you guys do it?
Wow.
And I talked to Frank about it, and we were playing with the Diamonds. Were just starting to find ourselves.
Yeah.
We were like, no, we don't want to do it. And then he eventually put it together with Brad from Aerosmith. They put a band together
Brad
called
Whitford.
St. Paradise.
No shit.
Was the name of the band.
Okay.
But he wanted to do it with me and Frank.
Wow.
Really good guy. But like Ted was, you know, not a good guitar player, not a good singer. And it was just like, it was all bluster. And I was impressed with his bullshit. He bullshitted at a really high level. It just poured out of his face.
I think he still is, too.
But as a music person, I just thought, dude, please.
All the bullshit he talks about, like he never touched a drug in his life and all this stuff. Do you believe that stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I do.
That seems pretty accurate then for him.
Yes.
Okay.
And he was doing that then.
Okay.
He was doing that, and this was the 70s.
Yeah. So.
When everybody was doing, you know, getting high. And he was like saying, I never, you know, I've seen him backstage. And I'll tell you something, I learned something from him.
Okay.
And one thing I learned from him was the show doesn't have to start when the lights go on. The show starts when you get out of the truck.
Interesting.
I learned that from him.
Okay.
You know, because backstage, he'd be back there mouthing off, and if people would come to interview him, and he'd just start saying the craziest shit and like spinning around the room and talking like just building himself into this larger-than-life character,
right.
Carrying his own flag and waving it around.
Right.
He was like that.
Right.
And I was impressed by that. His confidence and his... and him knowing that the show didn't start when the lights went on. They started before. They, you know, you are the show.
Yeah.
And so you know, I learned something from him about, you know, when you get to the gig, you know, don't be afraid.
Yeah, you're on
to be
the
Norman.
moment you get out of the car. Yeah.
Yeah. When you walk in the room and you start meeting the roadies and you meet everybody backstage, and you don't have to hide
who you are.
Let them know.
Yeah.
I know who I am.
Got it.
You know, and Ted did it in a negative way.
Right.
I learned, but he did it, and I noticed it, and I took lesson from it for real. So I did learn something from him. But as far as being a musician and
I thought the studio album sounded really thin. Like I just didn't think the guitar was that powerful sounding on disc. I mean, the live stuff was kind of amped up some, but like Cat Scratch Fever and those songs, the guitar is not really banging. It's not.
He's not a great guitar player. You know, he's, as Warren King would say, he's a hack.
Well, he I mean, he milked Stranglehold for all it was worth, and he milked Stranglehold for a good part. Oh, it's a sexy progression. There's no question. And he let you know.
But it was Derek's.
I didn't know that.
Derek wrote it.
Oh.
Derek sang it.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, when Ted came out with that album that broke him with Hey Baby and Stranglehold, that album featured Derek's songs and Derek singing.
Wow.
And that's the course that Ted rode back into the top of the business.
Yeah, okay.
And he got rid of Derek as soon as he could.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he couldn't stand having another guy on stage.
Yeah.
Like he would use his stuff, but then he'd kind of try and dwarf him if Derek would start. Derek played too,
right.
And Derek played well.
Right.
And when Derek would come out and start blowing, he'd be standing, get in front of him and push him back and this is my show. But it really wasn't.
Got it.
And it was very phony, and it was
interesting.
A lesson in. Things aren't what they seem, Ted Nugent had the name, but he didn't have the juice. And,
interesting.
And he was rude and mean and insecure, and there's no way he didn't know that he was a phony. Mm-hmm. No way. But he didn't let you know that he knew. I knew.
Okay.
Because because it concerned me. How people are and what they are.
Sure.
And what's real and what, I mean, I'm looking at every word everyone says. I'm like on 10 at all times. I'm so into it. I'm in my 20s.
Yeah.
But I just thought he's a bullshit guy. He ain't the shit. He ain't a rock and roll guy. He's a stone cold phony.
Who else? Anyone else come to mind?
That I was disappointed in?
Yeah, just disappointed for whatever reason.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, that's the one that stands out in my mind, where it was like a little bit of a shock that this guy wasn't even a real rock and roll guy. You know what I mean? It's like you would think a real rock and roll guy, like I would if I had Derek in my band, I'd be pushing his at front of the stage, and I'd be saying, ladies and gentlemen, I'd be pumping him up.
Right.
And saying, I'm cool because I'm standing beside him.
Of course, that's just being a good guy and also a smart thing to do.
And it's
the right thing to do.
Camaraderie.
Yeah.
And people see, hey, that's a band. They're a team. They're together.
Right.
It's a band that I saw that was great was AC/DC early on.
Okay.
They were with Bon Scott.
Yeah. Yeah.
The exact opposite of Ted Nugent.
Interesting.
They were...
So Bon wasn't a dick because that was the
on stage. I don't know him. I didn't get to hang with him, but I watched him work, and he was like a weirdo, but he was a rock and roll weirdo. You could tell that he loved being there.
They had something really. I mean, they had something with.
They
Brian.
owned it.
Yeah, with Bon Scott, they really had something.
It
was organic and raw.
They owned the shit. When they came on stage, whoever else was on that show might as well not ever have been there.
Yeah. They didn't even need 7 notes like you. They made a whole career out of 4 notes.
They were killer.
No doubt.
And it was real. And
no doubt.
They did one thing, and I studied them.
Okay.
Okay. I studied everything they did.
All right.
Musically, scientifically, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
Who's doing what? How are they doing it?
Yeah.
And
well, the formula was like they had Malcolm was this rock solid rhythm section, right? Their drummer was nothing spectacular. Phil Rudd, right? And it wasn't spectacular, but it was that interplay between Scott and Angus, right?
I mean, that's the sum of it. But what I'm studying is musically, how are they doing this? What is going on musically?
Okay.
And that's what what they did was they kept a very straight 2-beat drum beats, boom, psh, boom, psh, and whether they were doing quarter notes here or eighth notes here, was inconsequential. And whether they were doing 4 on the floor, whether boom, 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 or boom, psh, boom, psh. However they were doing it, it was all 4/4 time,
right?
And it was all very straight beats with very few fills,
very simplistic, right?
And the bass was almost always playing eighth notes.
Didn't know that. Okay.
Dum, 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 boom, tsh, boom. And what they were doing harmonically was the bass parts were almost kind of like what the word would be in jazz. They would call it a pedal point. Mm-hmm. In other words, and the rhythm guitars weren't playing like full chords all the time. They were playing chunky shit. And so, in other words, the rhythm left holes, and still does in the way they write.
No doubt, it's the space between the notes in that band. There's no question.
And that was part of the scientific way they built that music.
Yep.
And like I say, with them straight drum beats, and the bass playing like pedal point stuff, and then the rhythm guitar sometimes doubling what the bass is doing, sometimes not.
Right.
And the holes they left in between those chunks of rhythm, that was the music.
Yeah.
And they did that shit to death.
Back in Black was the apex of it. That's all. I try to explain to people that are not musicians, sometimes it's just as important, the space between the notes. And I think I tell people, look, if you love that song, if you're a hard rocker and you love Back in Black, what you love about that song isn't him hitting the guitar. It's the space, the anticipation between each note is as valuable as the note itself. They don't get it. But am I right?
Yes. But that album was the first album with
Brian Johnson.
And the first album with the producer.
Mutt Lange.
And what happened is Mutt Lange watched what they did, and when that time came to have the new album with the new singer, he took what they did and kept it and just intensified it.
I know. It was genius.
It really was
genius.
And there was the right producer at the right time with the right band.
Singer. And they needed that. I mean, obviously they had to find somebody with Scott gone, and they found a guy that was kind of like Scott, but different.
Yeah, but not as cool a singer, but he worked.
Well, Mutt Lange made it work.
And the way they reconfigured, they rededicated themselves, and re-simplified, those, and that just hit that bass drum and the cymbal together.
It's just a formula, man.
And let it ring.
Right.
Don't do like Metallica. Everybody's playing all this shit. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Let the sound of the music and the sound of the instruments stand on its own 2 feet. And that's what they did. And apparently they have a new record out. My buddy Moondog heard it, and he said, dude, their new album sounds like them.
I thought the same exact thing.
I haven't heard it yet.
Like, it's actually it's on point.
Well, you can, like I say, I've studied what they did. I could reconstruct those. I could do a band like that, because I know what they're doing musically, and it's very simple, and I know how to.
And they've been riding that same formula for 40 years. I mean, it's crazy.
And how great! They knew who they were. They found themselves, and then they stayed there. I don't believe, and I haven't heard the new record yet, and I hope, put it like this, I hope that they're not a tribute band to themselves.
Yeah.
Malcolm, with him gone, he was the leader of the band. He was the business.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the rhythm guitar player.
Yeah.
He was the boss. Angus is not the boss.
No,
it wasn't.
I just know that flipping Gretsch he used to play with the one pickup missing out of the cavity, and just that backbeat was so strong. That was, to me, that was the crux of the feel of that band.
No question. It was iconic. And the way the bass player played and the way the drummer played, it was all, I don't know if you know this, but the older brother and the cousin of Malcolm and Angus put all that together.
I didn't know that.
They were in a band in Australia. They produced the first records, and they were in a band called the Easy Beats.
Okay.
In the 1960s.
Oh, no shit. Okay.
So they handed their knowledge of what it is to those kids.
Interesting.
and they built it from there. So they had family that helped them, close family, you know,
Right.
older brother and a cousin
Right.
that held their hands and said, it's okay to be this, and this is how you do this, you know, and that, so they had help in finding that simplicity.
Right.
And then they just went out and did it. I've seen them a few times, and they just, you know who else I seen was great was, you ever see Lyle Lovett?
Oh yeah.
Totally different kind of music.
Yeah.
He was great. You know, one of the great entertainers that I saw.
Huh.
You know, I'm trying to think of, I saw a lot of good ones. I seen Little Feat with, what the hell was his name? The lead singer of Little Feat. I forget what his, Lowell George.
I don't think I know much of them.
Little Feat was fantastic, iconic. They were at a place where they mixed rock with like folk music with a little bit of jazz in a way.
Okay.
And they had this lead singer who wrote really well, and he had this amazing like country singing voice. He also played slide guitar real well.
Okay.
And they were, he died young. They were fantastic.
Okay.
You know, I seen Elvis Costello on his first tour.
Yeah. Did you get him? Did you get that?
I did it first.
Okay.
But he lost me. Right after the first album, I lost interest in him.
Okay.
But the first album I thought was fantastic. And that was produced by Nick Lowe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
And he really took what Elvis Costello did and knew what was great about it and eliminated everything else and didn't try to do too much. So that first album is a little bit bare bones,
Okay.
which was a balls move and the right move. And it helped his great singing voice. And at the time, his great writing, he wrote really well on that first album.
Okay.
And then he kind of got into this overwriting with all these words that didn't make no sense. And,
Yeah.
but that first album, I think, is iconic. With Allison,
Yeah.
watching
Oh,
the
yeah.
detectives in those
Oh, yeah.
songs. That was a moment in time. I seen Bob Dylan. I was a little disappointed.
Yeah. Everybody says that.
I seen the band
Did you see the band?
in 1969.
Or was the farewell concert was in the 72 or something like that?
I saw them in I think it was January of 1970. I saw them in Boston at Symphony Hall.
Okay.
It was killer.
Okay.
One of the best shows I've ever saw in my life.
Huh.
Killer.
That's
Lee
the most-
Von Helm was, you know, really, you know, an American music figure. He was just, you'd like, you know, certain people you like to see music coming out of their faces.
Right.
You know, Lee Von Helm was that guy. He was, you know, like, you just wanted to know more about him. You wanted to get closer to him. You know,
Got
you
it.
wanted to talk to him. You know, just because the way, you know, he wasn't the greatest singer in the world.
Right.
Wasn't the greatest drummer in the world. But then again, he was. When he was doing it, he was in a way. You know what I mean? He
got it.
knew
yeah.
how to play. He had a great feel. We talked about it earlier today. The feel. You know, the band, one thing they were selling was the feel, the way he played, and the way Rick Danko played bass with him. Those kinds of things are being lost in today's young
question.
people's music.
There's no question. The guitar is de-emphasized in modern music, unfortunately. I mean, I'd like to see a groundswell of young kids picking up the instrument and playing it. I don't see it. You know?
It doesn't mean it's not out there.
I hope.
It doesn't mean it's not out there. It's I try to work with people, and I'm always disappointed when I do,
Okay.
because most people don't. Very few people, and I've worked with a ton of them. Very few people are built to be music builders. It's a terrible job, and it's very difficult to do, and it's taxes you on many levels, and you got to be good at different shit to do it.
Right.
First thing you got to be good at is dealing with people,
Yeah. No doubt.
and
No doubt.
And that's always disappointing.
Yeah, no shit.
Especially with musicians. Takes one to know one, right? But most people want it. I was working with this kid a few years ago, probably 20 years ago now. Really talented. And he knew it. And he come to me and says, hey, I want to do things. And, I says, all right. And so I took over his project.
Okay.
And I rebuilt everything he did.
Okay.
And kept everything I could. And we were doing amazing work. And I mean amazing. World class.
Okay.
And the kid fought me with every move I made.
Wow.
He come to me to help him. And he fought with me with everything I did musically. As I rebuilt what he was doing. And eventually he fired me right before we finished the album.
Wow.
And it is what it is.
Right.
Here we go.
Right.
And then he made an album of that music that we were working on, and the album came out extremely average. And it was typical of what happens. A lot of young guys, they don't want to know. They don't want to know. They want it to be magic. They want to play and have that be enough.
Mm-hmm.
And they want their little band to be enough. And they want the way they think and to be the thing. And it's like, well, I tried to explain to him, when I was working with him, I says, look, kid, I says, you think, the Zombies,
right,
or the Stones, or the Beatles, you think those guys made them records all on their own?
Right.
I says, you think they did, but I'm telling you, they didn't.
Right.
They had a music guy in the room, and they had an engineering guy in the room. It was a different time. And you worked as a team. And a lot of times they had songwriters. Right. And a lot of times the producer was a bit of a songwriting expert and would take these. And I said it was a team effort. This is, one guy played keyboards, but he was being helped with what he played by the producer and by the engineer.
Exactly.
And I said, that's how you do these things. And I says, I've been doing this shit my whole life. I'm not doing this just to take over your thing. I'm doing it. Right. I'm eliminating bullshit.
Right.
And I said,
you think they'd want that?
It scared him, and it scared him to the point where he fired me. And I took that project to New York City while I was working on it, and to CBS Records, and my friend at CBS said to me, he says, why you bring this to me? I says, because I love you. We're buddies. Mm-hmm. We've worked together before. I says, hey, we haven't had big success. I says, but I learned to know that you know what you're doing. And I says, I wanted you to be the first guy to hear this. I'm working to him. He's working me.
Right.
And he says, but why'd you bring it here? I said, because I want to work with you. And he says, yeah, but he says, this shit sounds great. And I said, yeah, that's why I'm here. And he says, we don't sign great acts.
Wow. How about that?
He says, we sign shit.
How about that?
This was right around the early 90s.
Okay.
94, 95. And he was saying to me, this business is done. This business is over. The record business, we're on our last legs. I see the end. I see the finish line.
And that was before digital. That was like a couple years before digital started.
But they knew.
Yeah.
And he's saying this. He says this shit sounds great. He says we don't sell good music anymore. And then he put on a record by a band called Dope.
Yeah.
And then he pulled a syringe out of his pocket, and he went like this. And like he was pushing the syringe, and then he showed me the Dope record. He says, this is what we do now. He says, that was my idea, the syringes. What do you think? I'm like, whatever. I didn't know what to fucking say. You know what I mean?
That's great.
But that was,
That's so great.
But he says, why'd you bring it to me? He says, this sounds great. And so I took another band to him a few years later, and I had developed it to a really nice level.
Okay.
And he said to me, he says, let me tell you something. He says, I can't get you guys signed.
Okay.
He says, but what I can do, because of the type of, it wasn't like a straight up rock band. It was like more of a unique band. And it was somewhere between soul music and pop music and very musical.
Okay.
And he said, but I think I could get you guys signed to Word. And I'm like, what's Word? He says, it's our, I forget what the word he used. The Word was the name of the label, but Christian music.
Okay.
And then he mentioned that band Creed or something.
Creed, yeah.
He says that's why. He says that's how they did it. He says we got them signed to
Christian label,
and we worked them through that, and then we swung them over.
Yeah.
And he says I think I could pull that off with this band.
Okay.
And I went to the band and I told them that, and they says we don't want to do that. We refuse to do that. And I says I got you in the city.
Right.
I got you with one of the biggest labels in the world.
Yep.
Yep. I think we should shut
it's
up.
It's an avenue.
I says I got us in.
Right.
I says I think we should shut up and go along with this guy. I really do. I had a meeting. We had a meeting in a hotel down in West Virginia, and I says I think this is what we should do. This is my opinion.
Right.
Because I didn't take them up to the meetings. I did all that shit myself. They didn't.
Yeah.
And I says, I think we should do it. And then they voted me out and says, no, we don't want to do that. And, it's like, and I had that band for 4 years. I beat the living shit out of them kids. And when they were working on stage, they were all just a bunch of kids from West Virginia. They all said to me, they came to me and they says, dude, you know what? Since we've been working with you, he says, and they were on the road a lot.
Right.
And they were playing on the jam band circuit.
Yeah.
With a lot of high level acts.
Yeah.
And they had an agent at this. By the end of it, they had a really good agent out of New York City that was putting them on all these shows, and he knew they were great.
All right.
But the guys in the band says, dude, he says, since we've been working with you, when we go on these festivals and these outdoor shows, he says, we all know. He says, we just walk around, we're nice to everybody, and we stand on the side of the stage and clap for everybody. But we know, as soon as we hit, we're going to tear the shit out of this whole show.
Take no prisoners.
He said, they said, we all know. The whole band knows it.
Right.
They said, we have every confidence in the world that there's no way that we're not going to be the best band on that show.
And that's your thing. That is what you bring to the table, that attitude.
When I first worked with these kids, they came to me and they says, we're looking for someone to produce us, and why should we work with you? I says, all right. And I had my building. I didn't have a goddamn cent to my name. I didn't have no heat in my building, no air conditioning. My plumbing wasn't working. We were pissing in a bucket. And I said to them, I says, here's the deal. I says, here's what we're going to do. The first day that they were with me, I says, first thing we're going to do is we're going to burn one of these. And we smoked the joint. And then I said to them, which that shocked the shit out of them. They were like, this old man, lit a joint up.
It's fucking great. That is so great.
Right?
It's so great, man.
And I said, first thing we're going to do is we're going to do this. And then I said to them, here's what's up. I says, I'm going to take you in the back right now, and I'm going to teach you a piece of music.
All right.
And we're going to work all day on it. I says, and then this weekend, when you go do your gig, you're going to play that piece of music. And if when you play that piece of music, people don't stop what they're doing, and people don't turn around and look at the stage and applaud, and nobody comes up to you and says, what was that one song you did? I says, if none of that happens,
okay.
I says, don't ever call me again. Why would you ever even want to come back to me?
Okay.
I says, but if this piece of music I teach you makes that happen, then how could you think of going to anyone else? They says, well, that sounds fair. I says, all right, we'll do it. And that's what we did.
No shit.
And I taught them a song, and they were writing songs. They were writing fairly well on their own, but writing like guys that wrote songs but weren't really songwriters.
Okay.
Which is an epidemic in the past 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And but the song was here. Let's hit it real quick.
Yeah.
It was like a. I've been a fool for you since the day that I met you. And now I'm so much in love that I can't forget you. I've been fooled before, but I could leave the hurt behind. Now I can't see myself without you, baby, 'cause your love has made me blind. As any fool can plainly see, you become the biggest part of me. Now I can't see the forest for the trees, and I'm falling apart at the seams. As any fool can plainly see, any fool but me. And that was the song I taught him.
I like the progression. I like the chordal progression.
Slick, right?
Yeah.
It's like a Marvin Gaye tune.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I says, we're going to learn this. And they didn't even have a lead guitar. They just had an acoustic guitar, piano, bass, and drums. Killer band. Killer. And I taught it to him, and I had it all like these like real fancy piano parts, kind of almost like a Bruce Springsteen-ish
Right.
piano part to open the song before the music even kicked in. You know, like a almost like a minuet kind of piano solo. I taught the guy, and then put the music together. And I says, all right, we worked on about 7 or 8 hours. That's
Damn.
the way I work. You work with me, you work.
It's a marathon.
It's a marathon. That's how you do it.
Right.
And at the end of the day, they're like, Jesus, this old man's crazy. 5 joints later, no
great.
eating, pissing in buckets. I said, do it again.
That's fucking great, though.
And they played it that weekend. And the kid called me on Monday. He says, dude, he says, we played that song. I says, let me tell you what happened.
Yeah.
I says, everybody turned around and started looking at you. And on the break, everybody says, what about that one song you did?
Yeah.
I says, that's exactly what happened, isn't it? He said, how'd you know? I says, I told you that was going to happen before we did it.
Right.
And that's the way I work. You know, I wouldn't have let you out of here.
Yeah, I get it.
If we hadn't done that.
I get it.
And as we move further along, I'll be more and more. We're only going to raise the bar higher every time we work together. That's how I work. That's how you have to work, because you're competing with the best in the world. Like one guy said to me one day, he says, Christ, dude, we've been here 8 hours. I said, listen to me. I said, the work we're doing here today, in 20 years,
Right.
we're going to look back on this work.
Right.
And we're going to say how great that was. And I says, and that's how this business works.
Yeah.
You don't just do it to get it done. You do it, you peak it. You take every instrument and every sound and you blend them all together and you give it all you have.
Right.
Because we're going to be standing, if what we do is right, and if we can get some business flow,
Right.
in 20 years you'll be doing this arrangement. And if it sucked today, it's going to suck in 20 years.
Right. You don't want to be there.
Every note of every instrument has to be flushed through this toilet.
Yeah.
And that's how we do. And I says, and if you pay attention to the way I'm working, you'll start learning what it is, why I do what I do, why I make the decisions I make, when we make decisions on things, why you should play this and why you should play that. I says, that's the magic of what we're doing here.
Right.
No one, except for one guy that I've worked with, ever wanted to know all that shit. Everyone just wants it to be over.
Yeah. It's hard to get people to work hard, though. It's hard to get people to buy in, to have enough passion for things. It's hard.
I didn't
It's
know
not
that.
out there.
I'm shocked by it every time. Like my old lady said, people aren't like you. It's like, how could you not be? To me, I'm so normal. I was like, if you're going to work, you want to make great shit.
Yeah. Uncompromising.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And my experiences with some of these acts, I stopped doing it because I just got pissed off.
Yeah.
It was like, guys don't want to learn.
I bet.
They think they want to learn.
Right.
And they think they want to strut around. I says, but when it comes time to stand in a room and look in the fucking mirror,
right,
they don't want to look in the mirror.
Uh-huh.
You got to look in that fucking mirror.
Of course.
You look at, and now what do you see?
Mm-hmm.
For real, what do you see? Not what do you think you see.
Yeah.
What do you see? My job is to see what's real and hear what's real with the music.
Right.
And if you got a piece of music that isn't up to snuff,
right,
we're either rewriting it.
I get it.
Or we're throwing it out.
Absolutely right.
That's
Absolutely.
how you... And nobody wants to do that. They don't want to think that what they wrote doesn't have significance.
Yeah.
They think because they wrote it, it's significant. It's like, no, that isn't how it works.
Yeah.
Compare this to the Beatles' first album.
Right. I get it.
Compare this to Honky Tonk Women by the Stones.
Yep.
Compare this to Hotel California by the Eagles.
Yeah.
If you can't stand up favorably in those comparisons,
then why bother?
What are we doing here?
Yeah. Because you're saying you're admitting that you're going to produce second-rate shit, and you're okay with that.
And most everybody is.
Yeah.
Most everybody, and because I'm not in that club,
right,
I'm an a-hole. Because I refuse to be. I'd rather not do any of it.
No, I totally get it.
I didn't want to be the star. I did not want to be. I wanted to be the guy that built it for other people.
Right.
But I couldn't find anybody that wanted to be the star that wanted to work hard enough.
Well, I wanted it as bad as you wanted it.
And even to this, how bad I want it at this point in my life.
Right.
I should be done. I'm 70 years old.
No.
I should be done. I shouldn't be where I'm at, in the insanity. I got to play you a song.
Yeah, it's time to play. Let's play.
I got a song.
Let's do it.
And I'd like to send this out to Eric's people that are watching us, that got their good eye on us.
Good eye.
And I'd like
eye.
and I'd like to wish y'all a wonderful Christmas. And I'd like to say, may the monkey of love slide between the sheets with you and snap your girdle, give you a smack right on your shit can, send you down to Santa Claus. Because Santa, he's a come to see you. Wrote this a few years ago. I can't remember. I didn't really write it. It just kind of happened. Merry Christmas, everybody. May all your hopes and dreams come true. And while you're at it, have a happy new year too. Merry Christmas, everybody. May every little thing go your way. Said a prayer, you and yours have a happy holiday. I hope Santa comes down your chimney with a bag of Christmas cheer. Stops to have a glass of eggnog to toast a brand new year. Merry Christmas, everybody. It's the time of year to lose your blues. Snowflakes falling and the good times are calling you. Under the mistletoe, Christmas lights aglow. I'm betting you get kissed. Won't that be fun? You and your special someone sharing holiday bliss. Merry Christmas, everybody. It's the time of year to lose your blues. Snowflakes falling and the good times are calling you, calling you. So while you're at it, have a happy new year too. Merry Christmas, hunchers and munchers.
All right.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Let me blow kisses. You know, a few years ago, me and Moondog used to do this golf event with my buddy Mike Vale from the Shondells.
Okay.
You know, remember the Shondells?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they're from the Pittsburgh area.
I know
the
that.
band.
I didn't know that.
Tommy's from Michigan.
Okay.
But the band was from around here.
Okay.
And so Mike would put these golf events on, and me and Moondog we'd play golf, and then we'd play music.
Golf? I didn't know you golf.
Not real well. I'm a clown. So anyway, and then at the, you know, I don't know if you know Moondog, but he got the devil in him. He's terrible. I can't stand him. He brings out the worst in me, and I bring out the worst in him. So anyway, at the end of the golf event, and between then and when you play,
right,
there's a little bit of time lapse. And Moondog's like, well, what do you want to do, a-hole? And I says, I want to blow kisses. He's like, what's that mean? I says, here's what we'll do. Because we had finished, but not all the golfers were done finishing their round, you know.
Right.
I says, I want you to prop me up on the back of the golf cart, strap me in like you strap a bag of clubs in, and then I want you to drive around, and then I'll blow kisses from the back. He's like, dude, that's great. I'm like, really? He goes, we're doing this. So we did it. And we would drive up to a green where guys were putting and everybody's being real quiet because it's, you know, they're trying to win. And Mundo would go, hey, a-hole! And people would look around, and then I'd go, and then Moondog would floor it, and then we'd drive to the next place and we'd do it again.
They loved you.
And Moondog called it the celebration, the blowing of the kisses.
Oh, man.
It was like, dude, we're not good people. I just thought of a great song.
Why start now, Norm?
How about this?
Yeah, right on.
Folks from all around worship the hallowed ground beneath the warriors black and gold across continents. Legions behold. We're rich, we're poor, we're working class. We're the Steeler Nation, and we're gonna kick your ass. We're in every city in the USA, deep in the heart of Texas by the Frisco Bay. All over Florida and up in the Northeast, but on Sunday afternoons, we all want to be in Pittsburgh, PA, 'cause we're your Steeler Nation. Get in your face without hesitation. We're gonna give you guys a education. We're your Pittsburgh Steeler Nation. How you hunchers like it so far? We're in Cincinnati. We're in Baltimore. The Mistake on the Lake, out where the Cardinals score. All over Carolina and in that city of soul. But man, we've won ourselves 6 Super Bowls in Pittsburgh, PA, 'cause we're your Steeler Nation. Get in your face without hesitation. We're gonna give you guys an education. We're your Pittsburgh Steeler Nation. Well, the Chief sure done us right with this football team, and if he was here with us now, he would be so proud of his Steeler family. Man, we're in the city where the Eagles fly, where the Falcons soar, where they have Packer pride. We're in that cattle town where they make Rocky Mountain beer. But here we go, Steelers, is all we want to hear in Pittsburgh, PA, 'cause we're your Steeler Nation. Get in your face without hesitation. We're gonna give you guys an education. We're your Pittsburgh Steeler nation. And the Super Bowl is our destination. Yoy and double yoy.
Little truth to Myron at the end. That's awesome.
How about Myron?
Myron go,
He
baby.
bummed a cigarette off me one time. Myron bummed a cigarette off me.
Did he smoke it?
Yeah. Yeah. It was at a Steeler event down at Three River Stadium. It was like a banquet or something. I was there with some other music guys, and he was sitting at a table by us, by Chuck Noll. And he said, "Hey, you got a cigarette?" And it was, he just reached, he just kind of tapped over. It was so cool.
I bet.
Chuck Noll died on my birthday.
No shit.
June
Wow.
13th.
Wow.
I was on stage at the R Bar in Dormont, and the place was packed, and I'm doing my thing, and some chick comes in, and like the people were dancing right right in front of you. I mean, I'm like a foot taller, but I'm not tall enough to be tall, So this chick's standing right in front of me. She goes, and I looked at her. I'm like, and she was talking to me while we're playing,
Yeah.
And then like the third or fourth time she said it, I says, "What?" And she went, "Chuck Noll died." And as soon as she said it, I started crying.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was my birthday. It was like, he
Right.
died on my effing birthday.
Right.
The Emperor.
The Emperor. Emperor Charles. He was nicknamed that by Myron, right?
I don't know. But I know.
The Emperor Charles, I think. That he was named that by Myron Cope.
Myron. I always would say Myron. It's one syllable word, like iron, Myron. That's how we talk here. I was trying to teach my buddy how to say dog the other day. He would go dog, and I would say, "Well, you could say a dog when you're here." I says, "But when you get out on the coast, you got to talk smart like they do." I just got to say dog. And I had another friend. He was from South Africa. He spoke with the English accent.
Okay.
And his name was Peter. He'd always call himself Peter. And I would say, "No, say it smart like we say it." He said, how do you say it? I say, "Peter." And he'd go, "Peter." And I say, "No, Peter." And he'd go, "Peter." And we'd laugh hard.
One syllable versus two.
And Peter. He said it with dignity. And I'm like, "No, it's not. It's
Sophistication.
Peter." How you doing? Mother, father, pure of heart, stood by me from the start. Miss them both since they've been gone. Left me here, keeping on. See you when I get there. Think I can pay the fare. Heard it's nice up there. See you when I get there. Some friends of mine, as good as gold, had angel wings, truth be told. Bound for glory, touched by the hand. Now they're living in a promised land. See 'em when I get there. I won't know what to wear. I'll just pull up a chair when I get there. I get where I'm going, I'll be home. No longer will I roam. Life I lived wasn't by the book. I got ghosts back there. Tree gets shook. Dungeon door, pearly gate. Call my name, clear my slate. And I'll see you when I get there. throw our hands in the air like we just don't care. When I get there, I'll see you when I get there. Well, see you when I get there. See you when I get there.
That's
I just lost a beautiful, beautiful friend. It's someone who had all goodness.
Right.
Lives his whole life with goodness.
Yeah.
He was not like me. He didn't have any, the dark desires I have. He didn't want to be special. He wasn't looking for greatness. He wasn't chasing something that was invisible. He was just happy to be alive.
Content, right.
Just the gentlest,
Yeah.
no agenda other than to be.
Right.
I've never been able to be that guy. I've always been trying to gather something. I'm always chasing something that don't exist. And when you're that way, sometimes you do shit that you wish you wouldn't have done.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you step on other people's toes, or you say something that hurts someone's feelings. And that's who I've been. So
that's the journey, though. We're all imperfect, I mean, it's part of the journey. It's your story.
Yeah.
Nothing
No
wrong with
question.
that.
I'm not bitching. I'm just saying I'm saying things to hear myself say them at this moment.
Yeah, I get
just
it.
because I need to,
Absolutely.
because I got needs.
No doubt.
I got needs.
doubt.
When I you lose people you love, and I lost this woman's my niece's mother-in-law, 54 years old.
Wow. That's way too young.
How many years did she get robbed of living?
Right.
Just
That's
waking up and lifting your leg and letting one rip. I ripped one, Daddy. Right? How great does that feel? To just be, those things. To miss all that.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Like I said a little bit ago, I didn't really feel like I was becoming a writer until I was 60 years old.
Right.
I had written.
Right.
From back in my 20s, but I didn't feel that I became a writer till, or even on the edge of it, until I'm in my 60s. And thank God I got to live that long.
Yeah, no doubt.
And now
now
with this pandemic, as it winds down, hopefully, I'm gonna be on course for a new rejuvenation.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're going to be.
For the Reverend Roosevelt Nardini's Prosperity Program. And I want anybody's out there that's watching us today, think about it. Coming and seeing this old bag of meat later this year, 2021.
It's going to be a banner year. And 2022 is going to be incredibly crazy. I think it's going to... The Roaring 20s happened after the last pandemic, remember? The Roaring 20s happened after the pandemic of 1918.
When I went to Germany in the early 1990s, might have been 1990, it was not long after the wall was taken down in Germany.
Yeah.
And the Germans saw themselves in the American 1960s. And to be there, to watch that.
I bet.
And especially for women.
Yeah.
Because they were, for the first time in the history of the world, in their country, they were free women, and the celebration of who they were and how great they were. I didn't, see a ton of it, but I got to rub up against it just by watching the way they felt and the way they moved their bodies, and I could see there was a proudness in them, and it seemed fresh.
Yeah.
It seemed like they knew that they had magic inside them and that they were on the up. It was like just watching that. Like all these years later, I think about how lucky I was to just get a sniff of that. Just seeing the liberation of them. A buddy of mine one time said he played in Russia, and he said it was insane He said the women there were going crazy because they were feeling free and feeling powerful. And it was, he said it was just nuts.
I bet.
He said they'd just take their tops off in public and just walk around. I didn't see that in Germany. I didn't see it that close. I just saw it from the stage and from talking to some people. Right. But he saw it on a much deeper level, and he said it was just energized to be around that, Just the dynamic between men and women in general.
Yeah.
And then plus women from another country, and then them being liberated. He was like, dude, you should have been there. It's like how exciting this... He was like making it like these were some of the... And this guy has toured the world, and he's like, but this was worth talking about.
That was something.
Yeah. When
That's all right.
People are always what makes it happen, right?
It's the time.
There's nothing more exciting than the dynamic between people's like for me, it's usually an entertainer and an audience.
Right.
But it doesn't end with that, because then you start meeting people and you start rubbing up against them.
Yeah.
And that's what I get out of this. On top of getting paid, which it was never free money for me. It was never like, here's piles of money. It was always like, hey, can I get my guys paid?
Yeah.
Can I buy a new truck? Not a new truck for me was a truck that was 15 years old.
Right.
Those, I never wanted shit. I think I see myself as a minimalist, as a person. It's like, I know I've been saying this lately, and it's like when I open my cupboard, I want to see one glass, one cup, one plate,
just
one
what
fork,
you need.
One spoon. Yeah, I mean that. I have a certain comfort in that.
Yeah.
And not having. I don't want shit. I always say, people don't own things; things own people.
There's no question. That's definitely true. It's definitely true.
It took me a while to figure that out.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, and I think all of us, when we're younger, we go through periods of where we were chasing stuff or chasing material,
wanting
crap.
things. Right? We want. I think that's natural.
Yeah.
But I think when you fail at it, it's not as bad as it seems. You know what I mean?
It's never as bad not getting that materialistic thing that you were obsessed by.
Yeah, that's
and you
my
get
point.
it. And you're always underwhelmed when you get it.
And now you got to maintain it, and now you got to protect it. Now you got to keep it somewhere.
No guitar I ever lusted after that I had to have ever lived up to the excitement of wanting it once I got it.
Did you collect like pieces?
Well, yeah,
like Pauls and
and in the years that I was in the business too, I would get a lot go through my hands, and I might that's so nice. I might keep it, and I'd get it and I'd play it, and it was so underwhelming. I'd sell it. I found a couple.
Were you into acoustic guitars or?
Yeah, acoustics, electrics. I did
Martins.
it all. Oh yeah,
Gibsons.
Did it all. I didn't like the Martin tone. Wasn't me. Very woody, unique tone. Not my thing. Gibson SJ200s, the big maple jumbo. I love
real
those.
Stringy sounding.
The old ones, naturally.
Yeah.
I love Guild guitars. Guilds were just heavy
great
and
acoustic guitars.
Very heavy. Right. Very heavy. And on the electric front, man, I was always kind of a Gibby guy. I'm not saying they always played comfortably. Their Les Paul's not a great playing guitar in terms of comfort, but like you said, mashed up with a Marshall, that's some pretty thick fucking tone right there,
It's a standard sound.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is.
It's an iconic sound.
Yeah.
You go back to the Allman Brothers. You go back to Free.
Or Peter Green. I mean, he had that classic 50. I think Gary Moore ended up with that guitar, and I don't know where it's at now, but that classic,
Paul.
Yeah. And Jimmy Page had some classic ones too.
Your buddy Mick Ralphs.
Yeah.
Those. I never played Les Pauls. I could never handle one. I was never. Warren used to play the shit out of them.
See, I found them easier to play than when I have a Telecaster. I feel like I have to extract the tone out of a Tele.
That's what I like.
You got to you got to manhandle that thing.
And that's what I do.
I know.
That's how I play.
I get it.
And it's not like I play acoustic guitar. You know, when I play electric guitar, it's a whole nother thing.
Oh, 100%. But
And
you
it's,
gotta extract the tone out of a telly, though.
You got to manhandle it.
Did you have fun?
I had a blast. I enjoy it, and I will love to come back if you have me
I don't
again.
want to wait a whole year next time, though. Like, hopefully, in a couple months we'll get you back.
Hey,
and do it
once
again.
this shit breaks, we'll. And hey, but maybe when I got these 4 albums I'm working on, and they should all be out early next year. So maybe we'll come out and talk about them and
Absolutely.
play a tune here or there. And you can watch me dance to my own music.
I can't thank you enough, man.
Thank you,
And I
Eric.
appreciate the friendship, buddy.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. All right.
I'm going to blow you a couple kisses.
COVID era. We're out. Norman Nardini.
You know how Italian foreplay starts? It always starts the same way. Get over here!